By the riverside, a middle-aged immortal monarch with a face covered in dark spots stared at the river in shock. He suddenly found this passage with extremely weak murderous chi. Even an immortal king can go in. Did something occur at the river, or was there another tide? He soon took out a ship and threw it onto the river. Going forward a few hundred meters, he realized that what he saw was real. As long as he followed this passage, the murderous chi would be extremely weak. Realizing this, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and sped up. His ship soon disappeared. What's going on? Why did I see Gusu immortal monarch go into the river on a boat alone? Did I see wrong? The white-haired guy Xianxia stared at the river in shock. There were a few people next to him. Some came from the Dunyang Hotel, some joined halfway. You didn't see wrong, there's a tunnel here. The murderous chi is extremely thin. Gusu left from this tunnel. The scrawny old man frowned at the tunnel. The old man and the woman glanced at each other. There would be tides on the river every 100,000 years. This would result in regions of weak murderous chi. Tunnels like this would form, and only then could one get in the Lightning Kill Palace easily. Otherwise, more than 10 immortal emperors would have to join up to go in. Even with that, there would have to be immortal god body cultivators. But this wasn't at that time. How could there be such a tunnel? The scrawny old man and the old woman knew why they came here. They didn't come for the palace. If they could, they would have long gone. They came for Yemo. Yemo could easily take out an extreme-grade immortal range, and emperor would blue fruit. This meant that he had a lot of good things on him. Of course, if Yemo didn't dare to go into the river, they would still follow him. Unless he has a treasure that can split the murderous chi. The old woman's spirit sense scanned the tunnel and frowned. The old man sneered. Since there's a tunnel here and any immortal king can go through it, there's no need to team up. Then, the old man released an immortal ship and soon disappeared on it. Seeing this, the old woman didn't waste time too. She brought her disciple and disappeared in the tunnel. The rest of the people all released their immortal ships and went into the tunnel. The three had stopped now. They were at the center of the river. A whirlpool appeared before them. The map pointed to this whirlpool. This whirlpool was very strange. There was not a drop of water inside. The water of the river seemed to have went around the whirlpool. This whirlpool was like a well in a river. It was very eerie. It's probably here, Yu Lixing said. Let's jump in together. Yemo's spirit sense scanned a sliver of lightning source murderous chi. Yemo didn't need to absorb these murderous chi anymore. He just needed to find a place to settle and then fuse the killing force into his god art. His Tao wasn't the Tao of carnage, so he didn't need to keep devouring murderous chi here. He just needed to understand the killing force inside. Yemo jumped down first. To prevent the couple from being affected by the murderous chi, he devoured the murderous chi here. In the tunnel, Yemo's spirit sense saw a big palace. Moments later, the three and shadowless lad Ned in this palace with lightning flickering everywhere. There was less murderous chi in here. The palace was huge and there was spirit sense restriction. Yemo's spirit sense couldn't even see what the border of the palace was. Thank you, Brother Yi. Without you, we would never be able to make it here. This is the outer palace. Yu Lixing bowed to Yemo, thanking him from the bottom of his heart. Yemo didn't mind and said, Without your map, I wouldn't be able to find here. We're collaborating. I need to go in alone to find something. I believe you guys are doing the same. When we leave, you guys can leave with me. Yu Lixing bowed. Brother Yi, we already troubled you enough. Even for this well, if you didn't refine the murderous chi, we wouldn't be able to go in. We didn't put in any effort on the way. If we still need to trouble you to go out, then we would be too useless. We have transmission space rune. We can leave at any time. Shi Qiong saluted with here fists and said, Yes, Brother Yi. So let's split off here. We're leaving the Abyssal River after this palace too. Oh no! Yemo suddenly thought of something. What's wrong? Yu Lixing looked at Yemo with confusion. Yemo patted his head. I've been devouring murderous chi on the way and forgot that it would form a tunnel for some time. This is pretty much telling people how we got here and we paved the path for them for free. Yemo was in a state of enlightenment as he learned his god art. He didn't think of this. Then we... Yemo stopped Yu Leshing from talking. It's pointless, people are already here. We don't have time to block that tunnel. As soon as Yemo said this, a middle-aged man, dark spots on his face, landed not far from them. Gu Su, Immortal Monarch? Yu Leshing recognized this person. So you two got here first. It seems you got some nice immortal artifact. The middle-aged man recognized the couple. As for Yemo, he ignored him. Shadowless looked extraordinary, but he didn't care. Yu Leshing's face sunk. Although their cultivation level was weaker than Gu Su, Immortal Monarch, they weren't scared of him. Boss, who is this kid? Should I eat him in one gulp? Shadowless bared his teeth towards Gu Su, Immortal Monarch. Haha. Nice pet. It wants to eat an immortal monarch in one go. No wonder you don't want to team up with us. You can come here alone. A sharp voice sounded. It was that old woman. As soon as she said this, the scrawny old man landed first in the palace. The old woman followed, and another 9 figures landed. Your immortal pet is quite nice. The old man stared at Shadowless and laughed. He was shocked about who Yemo was. How did he have so many good things? Qian Bei. Yu Leshing greeted them. Yemo could ignore the two, but they couldn't. Yemo, you really have a lot of good things. The old woman laughed bleakly while staring at Shadowless for a long while. Brother Yi. Yu Leshing was a bit worried. He didn't know Yemo's cultivation level, but that old woman was an immortal emperor. Seeing Yu Leshing worry, Yemo immediately said, Brother Yu, you guys go first. Don't worry about me. By the way, my sect is Gonghua Heaven's Mou Immortal Sect. You can visit my sect when you're free. Yu Leshing was dazed. How could Yemo say that? Even if he was going to say this, it should be via sound transmission. Why would Yemo expose who he was? Even if Yemo ran away today, they could find his sect. But he couldn't really point out Yemo's fault and could only saluted with his fists. If there's a chance to, we'll definitely come visit. Goodbye. Then the two dashed into the palace. Yemo wasn't scared, of course. He didn't need to hide his sect. People from everywhere already knew. These people just hadn't gone out yet and thus didn't know. Seeing Yemo tell them his sect name without hesitation, the scrawny old man and the old woman frowned. Yemo didn't seem to be an idiot. Why did he say something this stupid? Everyone go do your own things. The scrawny old man didn't expect Yemo didn't even hide who he was. He was more surprised that Yemo came from a low heaven domain sect. If that was the case, things would be much easier. Many people wanted to go, but these two immortal emperors hadn't spoken yet. Now that the scrawny old man said this, they all saluted with their fists and left. Soon, only the scrawny old man, the old woman, and Yemo remained. Yemo, your immortal pet is really good. Paved the way when you came, right? I'm always staying near the river. I really lack a pet like this. Name a price. I'll have him. Kai Lu couldn't be bothered pretending. You can't afford it. Yemo scorned. A mere immortal emperor middle stage dared to threaten him. Since the emperor can't afford it, then I won't buy it. After taking the pet, I can't even be bothered looking at the other things. The old woman's tone turned tough and a jade staff appeared before her head. The scrawny old man laughed and actually took a step back. Yemo's pet was good, but he understood the old woman's words. She only wanted the pet and the rest of the things were his. Seeing Yemo not even move after she released her magic artifact, the old woman was completely furious. A mere body refinement cultivator dared to take her this lightly. Was he the only body refinement cultivator in this world? In her fury, the jade staff swept up a green veil that completely enveloped Yemo. At the same time, her immortal emperor domain was extended. She didn't plan to kill Yemo immediately. She had planned to teach this guy a lesson first. The violent green color squeezed at Yemo like spilling mercury. If Yemo was really an immortal king, he would be squeezed into pieces by this domain. Shadowless opened his mouth and didn't even devour the domain. To him, this old woman was so weak that he didn't need to help. At the same time, Yemo's domain expanded. Cracking sounds appeared and the old woman's face changed. She felt her domain cracking under Yemo's domain. Staff? The old woman felt Yemo's immortal essence even more powerful than hers and her face changed. Her staff turned into a green color that was filled with dead chi. When Emo released Zisu, Shadowless couldn't resist biting. With a crack, the old woman's immortal emperor domain instantly crippled and cracked open. A purple ray swept all the nearby killing force and hacked open her green death chi. Rumble, Zisu's sword ray clashed with her staff, easily tearing open the green rays. When the fierce killing force bound the old woman, she completely realized that she was nothing to Emo. No wonder Emo didn't consider her a threat. With his power, how could she even be a threat to him? Splurge, the purple sword ray drew a gash on the old woman. Devour domain. How could the old man not realize that he saw wrong? This Emo could easily kill an immortal emperor middle stage. In that case, even he was no match for him. Not only that, his pet could devour immortal emperor domains. When he saw Yemo's god art clearly, the old man smashed out a red mist. At the same time, his scrawny bold grew tall and bulky. The red mist instantly went into Yemo's domain, forming red ripples and blocking the purple ray. Crack. The red mist instantly went into Yemo's domain, forming a wall of red ripples blocking before Yemo's purple ray. Crack crack. Yemo's crevice god art carried space lethal force and smashed on the red ripple wall. The next moment, the wall was filled with cracks and the purple rays ended, unable to pursue the old woman. Light cracking sounds also came from the ground. The extremely hard lightning kill god palace floor had small cracks. The old woman picked up her broken arm and connected it with a pale face. The young girl she brought had a purple face. She had never seen her master completely lose in one move and lose an arm. If the old man didn't help, her master would be in a worse position. The red mist wall magic artifact had disappeared. Clearly the scrawny old man put it away, but his tree skin face was full of shock. No wonder you're so cocky, you're already immortal emperor tertiary stage. Emo felt the old man's power as soon as he fought. The scrawny old man was even more shocked and saluted with his fists to Emo seriously. Good eyes, immortal friend. Good god art. My god art is ordinary. I've cultivated for too short a time. But your god art is quite amazing. You probably cultivated it countless times. Amazing. Emo raised his thumb towards the old man. The scrawny old man was even more shocked. Did this mean that Emo could see his origin? Emo ignored the scrawny old man and walked towards the old woman carrying Zisu. You still haven't taken my immortal pet yet. Why are you leaving? I'm blind. I'm willing to compensate for any losses. How could the old woman not know that if she kept fighting, she would die? She might be able to use a space transmission rune, but if she left, her disciple would be dead for certain. No wonder Emo wasn't scared to have his origin known. With his dominance, who would dare to look for trouble with him? She began to doubt whether the scrawny old man saw wrong. Emo had such powerful immortal essence and spirit sense. How could he not be an immortal emperor? She knew she hadn't used her real god art yet, but seeing how relaxed Emo was, she knew that even if she used her trump card she would be no match. The scrawny old man landed next to the old woman and saluted with his fists, Immortal friend Yi. I saw wrong, please have mercy. Martial sister Kai Lu and I are willing to compensate for your losses. The old woman knew what the scrawny old man meant. If they joined up they could defend against Emo, but if they separated they had no right to talk to Emo. Emo laughed. Do you have something that I would want? If not, then move to the side. I will deal with you later. I have Dunyang's wine recipe. If you're willing, I can give it to you. The old man returned to his scrawny look. You're with that Dunyang. Emo's tone was contemptuous. This guy didn't admit it before, but now he admitted it himself. The scrawny old man didn't explain and just took out a jade slip and threw it to Emo. Emo's spirit sense scanned in. It was indeed the recipe for the wine. There were all sorts of wines inside, including Dunyang's wine. It seems you're very good at making wine. Emo put away the jade slip while his killing intent slowly dissipated. His tone was scornful. You have a share of Dunyang's hotel? The old woman looked at the scrawny old man in surprise. Emo glanced at the old woman. Little Mud has given the road toll. Where's yours? I don't see it. The scrawny old man got angry. EMO, I gave you the recipe for the wine and didn't ask for the emperor with blue fruit. What else do you want? I was just showing some respect to you on behalf of the both of us. Since when did it become road toll? He was regretting to the extreme now. He should have used the recipe to trade the emperor with blue fruit. Now, he gave the recipe but didn't get the fruit. I opened the path into the palace. You guys came in without any effort, don't you need to pay a road toll? You guys come in ungratefully and try to rob my immortal pet? Do you think I'm easy to abuse because my cultivation level is low? EMO asked coldly. What do you want? The old woman stared at EMO. She knew that if she pissed EMO off, EMO would really kill her. Even if she abandoned her disciple, she only had a 50% chance of running away. Level 9 immortal pills and level 9 immortal artifacts are trash to me. I don't even care about level 9 immortal spirit herbs. What can you give me? EMO asked. The old woman and the scrawny old man's faces changed. Level 9 immortal things were trash to EMO. What did he want? EMO really didn't intend to get anything from the old woman. He said these things to see if the old woman knew some specific secrets about the palace. EMO didn't believe she had no secrets when she was the one who proposed to the team to come here. Seeing the old woman with a sunken face, EMO wanted to remind her when she suddenly took out an arrow from her storage ring and threw it at EMO. This arrow is from the golden bow of immortal extermination. It's not something ordinary level 9 immortal spirit items can compare with. If you're still not satisfied, then even if I die, I will fight you. EMO grabbed the arrow. When he took it, he felt it was exactly the same as the first arrow. He almost couldn't contain his excitement. EMO didn't expect that before he even started looking. He got the second arrow. This is not bad. I'll take it. EMO forced down his excitement as he played with the arrow calmly. Seeing EMO take her thing, the old woman breathed easy. As she used her immortal essence, the broken arm was connected to her. Seeing that you're so genuine, I'll tell you something. EMO looked at the old woman and suddenly smiled. What? The old woman looked at EMO warily. This is my guess. Little Mud stayed at the Qingwei Abyssal River all these years probably to recover his cultivation level. Of course he's relying on the murderous qi and Dunyang wine. Perhaps he made the Dunyang wine. EMO scanned the scrawny old man and said. The scrawny old man sneered and was about to leave. EMO said calmly, I heard many years ago, someone used a broken heaven domain and smashed a divine emperor to death. I wonder if that divine emperor is really dead or just faking it. Who the hell are you? The scrawny old man suddenly turned around and stared at EMO coldly. If he was threatened by EMO, he would have released his magic artifact and killed EMO already. He knew that if he fought with EMO, he would lose a lot of power even if he didn't lose. The current him couldn't afford that. I've already said who I am. I'm MOU Immortal Sect leader. So what? The old man only used one move but EMO already recognized him. His ancient feeling was very similar to Kaimi. That red rippled wall formed so casually. EMO had never seen someone use a god art with that ease. Only divine emperors and some top grand emperors would be able to do that. The old man's chi made EMO realize that he was definitely once a divine emperor. He stayed at the river to use murderous chi to recover his power, but another reason was that his cultivation level fell and he could no longer hide his divine emperor chi. He had to use the murderous chi here to hide it. Plus, the scrawny old man gave him the recipe. How could EMO not know? A divine emperor called Little Mud. EMO thought of that Chuchun divine emperor who was smashed to death. Seeing that EMO didn't even care about his threats, the scrawny old man's force sagged down. You're really a divine emperor? The old woman asked in shock. The scrawny old man sighed dejectedly. Yes, I'm Chuchun, but now I'm no longer a divine emperor. EMO, who told you I was smashed to death by another heaven domain? EMO had some interest in this Chuchun divine emperor, but he didn't have time to waste now. He needed to go find the bone arrows and spirit control, the one the old woman gave him. I heard it from an elder in my sect. EMO didn't lie. Kaimi was indeed an elder now. Impossible. How can an elder from your low heaven domain know how I disappeared? Chu Chun rebuked in contempt. Emo laughed. That elder of mine is called Kaimi. I heard he used to be a divine emperor too. Kaimi? He's not dead, Chu Chun said in shock. Then he immediately said, how can Kaimi join your sect? Because he sees potential in my sect, so he joined. Kaimi is now an immortal emperor elder of MOU Immortal sect. Chu Chun opened his mouth and eventually said nothing. He actually believed Emo a little. Emo definitely wasn't old and his cultivation level seemed Immortal Monarch tertiary stage, but his battle power is no weaker than Immortal Emperor tertiary stage. This was unheard of. If there was a prodigal Immortal King tertiary stage peak who could kill an Immortal Monarch middle stage, Chu Chun Divine Emperor would believe it a little, but the difference between Immortal Monarch and Immortal Emperor was like heaven and earth. An Immortal Emperor primary stage could easily kill a few Immortal Monarch tertiary stages. Emo was a mere Immortal Monarch, but he could kill Immortal Emperor middle stage. Even with the help of his pet, this was absurd. Chu Chun, I heard you say you can find some life corners in here. It seems you're quite familiar with this place. Can you sell me a jade slip? Emo smiled and wanted to pat Chu Chun's shoulders. Chu Chun Divine Emperor dodged and said, no. Then he ignored Emo and left like the other Immortal Monarchs. Seeing this old woman about to go, Emo suddenly said, where did you get that bone arrow? Is it from the palace? No, a few thousand years ago an immortal emperor escaped from the river. He was heavily injured. I saved him and he repaid me with this. The old woman said and looked vigilantly at Emo. Emo doubted her words. He suspected she killed that guy and robbed his things, but regardless, Emo wasn't interested. Seeing Emo stop bothering her, she saluted with her fists to Emo and took her disciple and disappeared. Emo soon left. 15 minutes later, he found a corner to set up a stealth formation and took out the time formation disc as he went in. He had to spirit control this bone arrow first. Emo didn't choose to go into the golden page world in here. With 2 bone arrows, even if he encountered a top-level master, he would have more confidence. Emo spirit controlled the bone arrows once. The first time it took him nearly 3 years to refine the 48 restrictions. But this was the second time and he was familiar with the restrictions. According to what Emo thought, he only needed less than 1 month to spirit control it. 1 month in the time formation disc was less than half a day outside. It didn't affect him finding things in the palace at all. But the time formation disc ran for a day and Emo only spirit controlled to the 13th restriction. Emo put away the time formation disc in disappointment. He didn't expect that the restrictions of the second arrow was completely different to the first one. This meant that the 2 bone arrows were forged with different means. The restrictions were similar but weren't the same type. The person who forged this bow and arrow was a genius. If Emo wanted to spirit control the 48 levels, he would need more than a year. Emo couldn't waste that much time in the outer palace, so he stopped spirit controlling the bone arrow. Emo put away the time formation disc and stealth formation and quickly went into the depth of the palace. As Emo went deeper into the lightning kill palace, he felt another murderous chi. This murderous chi was different to the murderous chi on the river but was also very sharp. There was also a sliver of lightning in this murderous chi. Emo was certain that ordinary Immortal King and Immortal Monarch primary stage wouldn't be able to stay for long if they didn't have special means. He didn't know how the previous Immortal Monarchs came here. The murderous chi here was powerful but couldn't affect Emo at all. Emo easily passed through this area. Rows of broken restriction appeared before Emo. There were even some dried skeletons here. These were clearly restrictions with things inside, but the restrictions were broken and the things inside were gone. Emo carefully took shadowless past these broken restrictions. A gray mist path appeared before Emo. There was extremely fierce killing chi inside but much less murderous. This wasn't anything to Emo and was even weaker than the chi on the river. He took shadowless in the tunnel without hesitation. There were some scattered bones along the tunnel. Clearly, some immortals had been killed by this tunnel. After this tunnel, Emo saw more broken restrictions. However, unlike before, there were some restrictions not yet broken. A few immortal monarchs were attacking these unbroken restrictions. Emo had never seen these few immortal monarchs. Clearly, while he was spirit controlling the bone arrow, more people come. EMO took Shadowless inside, and those immortal monarchs started at EMO in shock. When they saw EMO had no wounds on him, they started attacking that restriction again. No one came to talk to EMO. The palace seemed to have a simple layout. EMO didn't stop and took Shadowless past these broken restrictions and went into the next tunnel. The murderous chi here was much fiercer than before. On top of that, there was a sliver of heart demon calling. How are you fine? That dark-spotted immortal monarch tertiary stage looked at EMO in shock. Clearly, they saw the scrawny old man and the old woman pass here. They thought EMO was dead for sure, but it's been a day and EMO appeared here too. EMO looked at this level 3 palace. Most of the immortal monarchs were here. He saw the long-haired immortal monarch and that monk-like immortal monarch fro the Dunyang Hotel. However, the white-skinned immortal king tertiary stage was gone. EMO didn't see Yu Lixing couple. They were probably either gone or at somewhere else. A little less than half the restrictions in here had been broken, but there were quite some complete restrictions. EMO knew this black-spotted immortal monarch. He was called Gu Su. But of course EMO wasn't going to talk to him. He was going to take Shadowless to the next level. Seeing EMO ignore him, Gu Su was about to go up to talk. Just at this moment, a sudden rumbling sound appeared in the palace. An extremely terrifying sharp killing chi bursted out. It was far more powerful than the killing chi in the tunnel. The 3 immortal monarch primary stages couldn't even resist against this and was grinded to pieces. The rest of the immortal monarchs no longer dared to keep attacking the restrictions. They all released their magic artifacts. EMO's spirit sense domain extended out. Those killing chi immediately calmed down on contact with his spirit sense domain and normal domain. Shadowless gulped on the side, and the calmed down killing chi were actually all devoured. The killing chi came and left quickly. Moments later, it disappeared from this hall. After that, only 4 immortal monarchs remained alive in the hall. Even so, they were covered in wounds. Their faces were pale and eyes fearful. Gu Su immortal monarch was fine but was also injured by the killing chi. When he looked up and saw EMO was completely fine and didn't even have a single fold on his clothes, there was shock and fear in his eyes. EMO ignored Gu Su, but Shadowless sneezed at him. "Kid, the next time you dare to act cocky to me, I'll eat you." EMO shook his head. Shadowless lacked vocabulary, it's always eating. EMO didn't care about this mere immortal monarch. He sped up and went into the tunnel to the next level. The bone arrows weren't simple. Even in this palace, it probably wouldn't be in the outer palace. In this tunnel, there weren't only murderous chi but also dense clusters of lightning attacks. To others, this tunnel was many times harder than the previous one. Even lightning immortal spirit root immortals wouldn't dare to face this lightning. Even Shadowless didn't dare to face this lightning alone. To EMO, the lightning arcs were easier than the previous tunnels. When he came in, those lightning arcs struck him. He devoured some and the rest didn't affect him at all. After passing this tunnel, EMO found the hall to be smaller than before. Despite that, there were tens of restrictions inside and not many were broken. The palace was empty and even EMO's spirit sense could only scan within a 100-meter radius. "I'll open a restriction." Shadowless charged up to a restriction and smacked down with his leg. Before EMO could speak, Shadowless already stepped on this restriction. At the same time, a terrifying sound erupted in the hall, as though it was divine damnation. Shadowless was so scared that he quickly hid behind EMO. The next moment, countless lightning arcs and lightning smashed down. They instantly filled the entire palace. EMO and Shadowless was drowned in this lightning. But EMO didn't care. He felt this lightning kill palace was very familiar. EMO soon remembered why he had this feeling. He felt this feeling when he was in that lethal force dimension palace. The restrictions here were pretty much similar to the same. Due to this discovery, EMO believed more that the person who set up the palace in the lethal force dimension came from the same place as the person who left this palace. Seeing Shadowless have some trouble defending against the lightning, EMO threw Shadowless into the Golden Page world. He didn't care if he faced the endless lightning alone. EMO walked up to the restriction Shadowless attacked and hacked with Zisu. Unlike others, He could see a little of what was inside the restriction. This strike hacked at the weak part of the restriction. In just one strike, a crack opened in the restriction. After that, more lightning rained down in the palace. Emo didn't care at all and hacked out again. The restriction cracked and was completely hacked apart by Emo's strikes. Emo looked at the empty restriction and was very disappointed. It seemed not all the restrictions here had things. Many restrictions were empty. Emo hacked open a few restrictions but found 90% of them were empty. Only from one restriction did Emo get a small dagger. When he grabbed it, Emo felt a powerful pulling force that seemed to want to teleport him out. Emo's spirit sensed domain and domain quickly extended out, blocking this power. Then, he began looking at the dagger in his hand. It was only 9 cms. Emo scanned with his spirit sense and found that he couldn't see through the restriction on it. Emo put the dagger into the golden page world and immediately felt the pulling power become much weaker. He wasn't interested in opening more restrictions here, so he sped up going forward. The more forward Emo went, the denser the lightning was. However, he no longer saw more tunnels. The path was completely covered with lightning and all sorts of fierce killing chi. This lightning was mixed with murderous killing intent. Emo thought that this was indeed the lightning kill god palace. Even an immortal emperor might not be able to get forward safely. Emo wondered if Yu Lixing couple got here and if Chuchun divine emperor and the old woman could come here. Half an hour later, Emo felt the place he was going getting more and more narrow and slanted. It was as though he was walking into the depth of the earth. At the same time, Emo's spirit sense was getting more and more suppressed, so he used Spirit Will 9 transformations as God Art Rainbow. His spirit sense formed an invisible sword rainbow and swept out. Immediately, the spirit sense binding was broken. The scene within 10 kilometers were in his sea of consciousness. He saw Chuchun divine emperor and the old woman. The immortal king disciple of hers was completely fine. They stood at a place and there seemed to be less lightning at that place. Emo immediately realized that was so-called the life corner. Other than these two, Emo scanned 2 more. They were standing at a spot with very little lightning. That was probably a life corner. One of them was an Immortal Emperor primary stage and one was Immortal Emperor tertiary stage. Emo's spirit sense scanned the 4 and they immediately sensed it. However, Emo could see them but they couldn't see Emo. Only Chuchun divine emperor frowned and glanced at Emo's position but shook his head. Just when Emo wanted to go over, the 4 got up at the same direction and dashed in a direction. The next moment, they disappeared from Emo's spirit sense. Emo sped up too. In a few seconds he came to where they disappeared but there was a space formation door. Seeing 4 immortal emperors go in, Emo went in without hesitation. As soon as Emo did, the nearby lightning and lethal force grew scarce. He found himself in a golden stairway palace. As soon as Emo came here, Chuchun and the old woman noticed but they said nothing. The other 2 immortal emperors stared at Emo with uncertainty. All those who could come here were either immortal emperor or came with immortal emperor. Now Emo was here. Although he showed his power to be immortal king middle stage, he was probably an immortal emperor. They were confused because they haven't seen Emo before. There were 6 immortal emperors always staying at the river and they all knew each other but they have never seen Emo. Immortal friend, how come you seem unfamiliar? The immortal emperor tertiary stage saluted with his fists to Emo. He looked amicable. Emo smiled. I'm a passerby so I came to see. No need to mind me. At this moment, Emo's spirit sense had seen this entire palace completely. The further one went ahead, the narrower the stairs became and the more lightning there was. They were standing at the bottom of the stairs. As they went up, there would be denser lightning arcs and lethal force. There was no life corners anymore. One's spirit sense couldn't reach into the lightning killing force. One couldn't see what was on the other side of the stairs. Emo didn't use spirit sense rainbow to check. Even if he wouldn't do it in front of the other immortal emperors. All the immortal emperors came here clearly because this was where the good things were. We have 5 immortal emperors here. Although it's not many but we can stack our domains together and release our defense magic artifacts. We might still be able to get inside. The only immortal emperor primary stage said. I'm fine with it. The immortal emperor tertiary stage said. Chu Chun divine emperor and the old woman nodded. I'm fine too. Seeing Yemo not talk, everyone looked at Yemo. Yemo turned back and smiled. You guys can team up. I like to go alone. Then, Yemo sped up and walked on the stairway. Hearing this, Chu Chun divine emperor and the old woman seemed normal as they had seen Yemo's power, but that immortal emperor primary stage's face sunk and said coldly, insolent fool. Are you the only immortal emperor here? Who isn't an immortal emperor here? Yemo heard this immortal emperor primary stage of course, but he didn't have time to waste here. Brother Little Mud. This person is too cocky. We've been at the river all these years but haven't seen someone as cocky as him. The immortal emperor primary stage saluted with his fists to the scrawny old man. He was immortal emperor primary stage, but at the peak, he was just one step away from middle stage. In terms of power, he was on par with the old woman and could even suppress her. Chu Chun immortal emperor coughed a few times before saying, Oh, I've seen Yemo at Dunyang Hotel. I can't really say much. Cough, cough, cough. Hearing this, the immortal emperor primary stage knew that Chu Chun divine emperor didn't want to help. He wasn't asking Chu Chun divine emperor to help. He just wanted to notify Chu Chun divine emperor in case he was no match for Yemo. He wanted the scrawny old man to resolve the conflict. Yemo seemed to be an immortal king middle stage, but only an idiot would take him for one. Yemo didn't look very old, so he suspected Yemo was an immortal emperor primary stage. He didn't ask the old woman and then turned his eyes to immortal emperor tertiary stage. Brother Kuang, I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. The immortal emperor tertiary stage smiled bitterly and interrupted him while pointing at Yemo. Infa immortal emperor, have a look. Do you think you can do it? If so, then go challenge him. Fa immortal emperor just noticed Yemo had walked into the lightning lethal force. The dense cluster of lightning arcs and lethal force had completely enveloped him, but he was completely fine. Fa immortal emperor stared at Yemo with shock. He knew that to walk in the lightning arcs, at least a few immortal emperors must stack their domains together. He thought Yemo would stop after feeling the pressure, but the reality was completely opposite. Just who was this person? How could he walk into there alone? It's not that immortal pet. He can do it himself. Chu Chun divine emperor murmured. Chu Chun divine emperor originally thought that the reason Yemo could pave a path on the river was due to his strange pet. Chu Chun divine emperor even thought that the pet was no immortal pet but god beast. When he saw Yemo go into the lightning freely, he knew he completely guessed wrong. Martial sister Kai Lu, who is he? Is he very strong? Fa immortal emperor woke up and asked the old woman. The old woman sneered. If he wants to kill you, he wouldn't need more than 15 minutes. Fa immortal emperor took in a cold breath and felt timid. Luckily that immortal emperor wasn't someone to start trouble. If it was some strange-tempered guy, he might be fighting Yemo now. We'll join our domains and go in. Staying here isn't the way. Chu Chun divine emperor said, seeing that Yemo's spirit sense had disappeared from spirit sense. The other people immediately agreed. The immortal emperors released their defense magic artifacts and walked onto the stairway together. As for the old woman's disciple, she was sent into a small world. The lightning lethal force here was strong, but for Yemo, it didn't affect him much. He was devouring part of the lightning arc lethal force. A part of it hit his immortal god body middle stage body and couldn't do much damage. When Yemo's spirit sense completely couldn't see Chu Chun divine emperor and them, he used a rainbow cut to break open here. Yemo's spirit sense could clearly see what was ahead. More than 10 lightning arc tunnels appeared in his spirit sense. There seemed to be different things in each. Yemo immediately realized that this was a really good place to cultivate Carnage God Art. If he learned all the killing chi here, then his Carnage God Art would be in great completion. But Yemo wasn't interested in this. He cultivated 3 birth chant, not Carnage God Art. Yemo's spirit sense scanned into one of the tunnels and a jade platform restriction appeared in his spirit sense. Some of the restrictions were broken. There was a platform after every restriction and a rink. They were shaped in different forms but were all in the form of swords. When Yimo's spirit sense scanned another tunnel, he also saw another jadestone platform. However, the rink were spear-shaped. Yimo soon realized that the platforms were for placing magic artifact, and the empty platforms meant that the magic artifact were taken away. Those platforms with complete restriction would have top magic artifacts inside. Realizing this, Yimo's heart lit up. His spirit sense scanned in a few more tunnels. He had to find which tunnel Golden Bone Arrow was. Tens of seconds later, Yimo found the tunnel with arrow-shaped magic artifact. It was on the far left. Yimo dashed in without hesitation. He didn't even care what the other tunnels have. The golden bow of immortal extermination was too useful to him. After going into the tunnel, Yimo immediately sensed that the lightning arcs and murderous chi in here was completely different to outside. It was calmer at the start, but the deeper you went, the more volatile they were. The few jade stone platforms at the front had been broken. Yimo sped up, and eventually he even had to use his domain to help defend himself. Yimo passed more than 10 jadestone platforms, but some of the restrictions were broken. There were some unbroken, but Yimo didn't touch it. Yimo wasn't looking for any arrow, he was looking for the Golden Bone Arrow. These rinks were very ordinary. There was no way it would be the Golden Bone Arrow. At the 13th platform, Yimo finally stopped. The restriction was broken and the rink had the exact print as Yimo's Golden Bone Arrow. However, it was empty. Yimo came to the next platform, but the restriction was also broken. The shape was exactly the same as the bone arrow. 15th, 16th platform. When Yimo reached the 18th platform and saw the restriction was also broken, his heart sunk. He didn't check one by one. He knew these 9 platforms would be joined together. Yimo scanned with his spirit sense and indeed found that till the 20th platform, the restrictions were all broken. There was only the 21st platform and the restriction here wasn't broken. However, even with his spirit sense and using rainbow technique, he felt it difficult here. Yimo took back his spirit sense god artifact and stacked his spirit sense domain with his immortal monarch domain. He carefully moved forward. At the latter part of the tunnel, even he felt it was tough. How did the previous 20 people come in here? This wasn't a place ordinary immortal emperors could come in. Zhizong Immortal Emperor would at most be able to come to the 9th platform, and this was if he relied on a top magic artifact. Otherwise, he couldn't be able to come to here. Zhizong Immortal Emperor definitely had some magic artifact or someone to help him take the golden bow of immortal extermination. However, he didn't get Zhizong Immortal Emperor's storage ring, so he doesn't know. Yimo came to the 21st platform and found that this was the final platform. Thinking about all the other platforms left, Yimo's dejected mood was a little better. He had decided to break the restriction here and then go to other tunnels. This was a similar restriction to the one in the Void Palace. Yimo spent 15 minutes to study this restriction and then hacked down with Zisu. Rumble. Zisu's sword ray was blocked completely, and Yimo was shaken a few meters away. Such powerful restriction. Yimo didn't expect he could break it in one strike. He hacked another strike. The rumbling sound mixed in with the lightning sound in this tunnel, creating an echo. Yimo hacked down again and again. The restriction cracked a little under Yimo's attack, but they soon repaired. Yimo attacked faster and faster, and the marks he made were deeper and deeper. When he saw the crack get larger, Yimo found in shock that there seemed to be an extremely powerful force in the palace pulling him, wanting to teleport him away. Yimo was shocked and quickly smashed out Zisu. Eventually, he even used Crevice God Art. Crack! Finally, the restriction was completely broken and the jadestone platform appeared. A faint golden bone arrow was placed in the center of the rink. Yimo rejoiced and grabbed that bone arrow without hesitation. As soon as it came in his hand, the terrifying killing intent let Yimo know that he got the real golden bone arrow. Immediately, that terrifying teleportation power filled all of Yimo's body and was about to tear Yimo away, not allowing him to stay in here anymore. Yimo's spirit sense domain and domain smashed out and could only barely stop this pulling power. Yimo clearly didn't want to be teleported out like this. There were so many good things here. He quickly sent the golden bone arrow into the golden page world and prepared to defend against this pulling power with all of his might. The same time the gold arrow was thrown in the golden page world, The pulling force grew much less but was still there. It just wasn't as scary as before. Emo breathed easy. If he didn't have the golden page world, he would definitely not be able to resist the pulling force. From this, Emo believed that ordinary people could only take one item away here. How did Zhizong, Immortal Emperor, take the bow and the arrow? Emo didn't keep breaking the restrictions here. He probably only had one more chance. Even if he was teleported out, he would spend a lot of time to come back in. After leaving this tunnel, Emo started using his spirit sense god art to see what was inside the restrictions. He only had one chance, so he had to find something suitable for him. Emo's spirit sense scanned, and each tunnel seemed to be filled with different magic artifacts. Emo had decided that if he couldn't find anything really good in these tunnels, he would go to the sword tunnel to find a sword he need. But soon, Emo realized that there were too many good things here. One tunnel was filled with all sorts of pill cauldrons. This itched Emo's heart. Although he had a Shinong cauldron and a low-grade god artifact, but as a peak immortal pill grandmaster, it was better to have more pill cauldrons. Emo resisted the urge to go into the pill cauldron tunnel and kept scanning his spirit sense. His heart itched more. He saw flying magic artifact tunnel. Flying boats, ships, carts. Emo wanted to go in and find a top-level flying magic artifact and swap out his fake space-time boat. He was a level 8 immortal forgery grandmaster, but he couldn't forge his own flying god artifact. Plus, he didn't have the materials to make one. When Emo's spirit sense scanned the most right tunnel, he was dazed. There were only 3 platforms there, and 2 of them were broken. Each platform were bead-shaped and had 12 rinks on each platform. The shape was quite familiar. Emo subconsciously took out the 12 lightning orbs he had. This was the lightning sea god orbs he was finding for Emo. At the time, he was only hollow immortal and fought a golden immortal for this and almost died. Emo immediately charged into the right tunnel. Emo even thought he had collected all 36 orbs. Emo had 12 on her and he had 12. He found another 12 here. Then wasn't it complete? Emo started attacking the 3rd platform restriction. As he attacked, he threw out formation flags. He knew he could use formations to help him. The restriction here was stronger than the restriction for the golden bone arrow. Emo even suspected that the restriction was attacked before and didn't break. That's why it was left here. Zissou hacked out purple ray god art while Emo threw out break formation flags. Half a day later, the restriction was completely surrounded by Emo's formation flags. Emo knew that if he could calm down and slowly derive this formation, he would not only be able to solve the restriction and increase his formation knowledge. Attacking it with force now would also help, but not as good as slowly deriving. Emo didn't have the mood to slowly derive. He felt the more he broke the restriction, the greater the pulling force was. Emo suspected that if he calmed down to derive, he would soon be teleported away. It wasn't easy for him to see this 12 orbs. How could he let himself be teleported away? He used another crevice god art. This time, the god art gathered all the lightning arcs and lethal force nearby and smashed on the brittle restriction. The restriction was instantly torn open, creating a loud thud. 12 orbs with lightning sparks around it appeared before Emo. Emo felt it was a bit different to the lightning orbs he got before, but he couldn't care that much. He didn't even check it and just threw it into his golden page world. Rumble. A windpipe-like sound pressed on Emo. That extremely powerful pulling force stopped Emo from staying here and teleported away. Emo felt his head dizzy. When he woke up, he found himself at the side of the Qingwei Abyssal River. This was the place he entered the river. Emo released an immortal ship and dashed in the river again. This lightning palace had things he had never seen before. How could he leave with just 3 items? The tunnel Emo had opened before was completely gone. Emo didn't refine murderous chi here to pave a way. He just charged at the palace. Emo was extremely fast, and in just half a day he came to that whirlpool place. The whirlpool was still there. Emo breathed easy. Without hesitation, he dashed into the whirlpool. However, Emo was extremely disappointed to find that as soon as he went in, he was pushed out by a powerful force. This whirlpool remembered that he came in here and didn't allow him to go in a second time. Emo fell in the river. When the murderous chi and killing intent invaded him, Emo realized that one could either come in here once or would have to wait a long time before coming back again. Emo thought the powerful being who palmed out the river left this here, but now he abandoned that idea. There was no way he would leave something this orderly here. That person would even destroy the immortal realm. How could he leave this for the immortal realm? This palace was here almost as if to encourage people to increase their power to get the magic artifacts. No wonder those immortal emperors didn't like up to come here again and again. Emo had made up his mind to come back again when his cultivation level was higher. When Emo was surrounded by the murderous chi, he felt very uncomfortable all over his body. Just when he wanted to charge out, a figure dashed at him like lightning. It was Abyss Dark Shark. Emo saw this immediately. He swept his purple sword ray out and blood spread in the water. Although he killed this shark in one strike, he was pushed back tens of meters by the shark's force. A white stone appeared before Emo grabbed it, and a powerful killing intent and murderous chi instantly filled Yemo's sea of consciousness and body. This was wine kill stone, a white one. Emo remembered that he had the wine recipe but didn't have the stones, so he didn't leave immediately, and instead dove into the bottom of the river and started to find the wine kill stone. Emo was at a place where the murderous chi came in cycles. This place was easiest to form all sorts of wine kill stones. Emo found large amounts of blue and white wine kill stone. He even found a pile of black wine kill stone. 3 days later, Emo dashed out of the bottom of the river. During this time, he found a few thousand blue and white stones and more than 100 black stones. He even killed a few hundred sharks. There was no more point staying here. Emo had decided to leave the river and head towards Ice God Palace. After coming back to his ship, Emo called out Shadowless and let Shadowless control the ship. Shadowless can't defend the murderous chi at the heart of the river yet. But after these days, Emo had some understanding of the murderous chi. Plus, he kept breaking the restrictions in the palace. So Emo set up a few defense formations for the murderous chi. That way, Shadowless could control the boat. Emo immediately went into the Golden Page world. He wanted to check if the orbs he got this time was different to the ones he got before. These 12 orbs were bluish-gray out the outside. Emo took out the 12 orbs he had and placed it with the ones he just got. If he didn't compare, he really wouldn't be able to tell the difference between, but after comparing, Emo immediately realized that the 12 orbs he got before were fake, just like his space-time boat. The 12 orbs at the Lightning Kill God Palace were the real ones. These 12 orbs contained boundless lightning source killing chi and endless power. It wasn't something the other 12 orbs could compare with. Emo put away the 12 real orbs and wasn't really disappointed. Emo had 12 fake ones, he had 12 fake and 12 real ones. Regardless, he helped Emo gather 36 lightning orbs. Even though they were fake, the combined power of 36 orbs were extremely powerful. Emo gave the wine recipe and wine kill stone to Small Ginseng as he began spirit controlling the golden bone arrow. He had 3 bone arrows now. One of them was spirit controlled to the 48th restriction, one was to the 13th restriction, and the third one wasn't spirit controlled at all. 7 days later, Emo spirit controlled the second arrow to 48th restriction, and then the third one to level 9 when he received news from Shadowless. Emo immediately took the golden arrows out from the Golden Page world. The third arrow was many times harder than the previous 2 arrows. He needed to find a peaceful place to spirit control it to the 48th level. Leaving the Golden Page world, Emo realized why Shadowless called him out. There was no direction on the ship. The boat was still on the abyssal river, but the murderous chi was gone. Instead, it was the soul-freezing coldness, just like Yu Lixing. The frost here was etched into the bones and even the sea of consciousness and soul. "Boss, there's no more way to go." Shadowless pointed at the direction disc on the ship and said. Emo looked at the direction disc. It stopped moving. Emo scanned out with his spirit sense. This place seemed to have left the range of Qingwei Abyssal River. There was less spirit sense restriction and weaker sky restrictions. The sky restriction is much weaker. We'll change to space-time boat. Emo said, and then released the space-time boat. The space-time boat instantly left the misty river and went into a bone-chilling ice forest. Emo felt that as soon as he left the abyssal river, he was in this forest. There was no middle area. The sky restriction was weaker but was still there. The space-time boat could only travel in the ice forest but couldn't fly too high. Shadowless opened its mouth and sucked. All the nearby ice was sucked into its mouth. Emo's spirit sense domain and immortal monarch domain reached out. The soul-freezing frostiness eased up a lot. The space-time boat sped up and made light cracking sounds as it traveled this frosty dimension. Emo had been to a few bone-chilling places. In the Cultivation realm, he had been to the ice god forbidden grounds. That cold was chilling, but it didn't invade the sea of consciousness and freeze the soul. He was too weak at the time and could only use winter's arrival to devour that coldness. Ever since winter's arrival devoured some ice, it stayed motionless in the golden page world. Emo didn't plan to use winter's arrival. His power was more than tens of millions times stronger than before. This ice god palace really knows how to hide. Who would be able to find a place like this? Even Shadowless' powerful body was shivering. This place is eerie. Emo suddenly stared at the ice forest and said. Shadowless quickly asked, "Boss, what is eerie?" Emo thought of the ice god forbidden grounds in South Peace State. He saw a pitiful scene. There were frozen, extremely beautiful women everywhere. The ice mountains here were sleek and slender. This immediately reminded Emo of that scene. In the Cultivation realm, I went to the ice god forbidden grounds. I saw a few hundred beautiful women frozen at the outskirts of the forbidden grounds. This ice forest is giving me the same feeling. I don't like this place. Emo sighed. Let me see, Shadowless said and flapped down on an ice peak. Crack. The ice peak cracked and a frozen woman appeared before them. This woman was covered in ice and this ice had the effect to blur spirit sense. Emo took in a cold breath. All these ice peaks were frozen women. How many women died here? Shadowless was shocked and broke a few more ice peaks. They were all extremely beautiful women inside. Shadowless quickly said, "Boss, it seems every peak has a woman frozen to death inside." Emo frowned and detested the ice god palace even more. This was no good sect. Even if Nye Shuangshuang is there, he would take her away. This sect wasn't suitable for Nye Shuangshuang. He wouldn't allow her to cultivate here. The space-time boat sped up and Shadowless sensed Emo's fury. His force grew too. If Boss was angry, it meant that there would be battle. If there was battle, then he could eat. Traveling in the ice forest didn't make Emo's body cold. Instead, its temperature soared with his fury. Emo thought of the blue bead small world in the golden page world and a woman called Qingru. She was from Ice God Palace. When Emo first saw her, he suspected she wasn't from the Cultivation realm. The reason he kept the blue bead world in his golden page world up until now was mainly because he pitied her. Seeing this pitiful Ice God Palace scene twice, this made him lose good impression of Ice God Palace altogether. If he had time now, he would definitely spirit control that blue bead small world and ask Qingru what this was. Emo wasn't someone who liked to mind others' business, but what the Ice God Palace did touched his line. The space-time boat flew for another 2 hours and the ice forest was behind him. The ice peaks that appeared was no longer sleek and slender. It was grand and monumental. That uncomfortable feeling finally disappeared. Although there was ice mountains and peaks everywhere here, the cold that froze essence, spirit, and sea of consciousness was gone. These ice peaks should be real, right? Shadowless raised his big foot and kicked on an ice peak. Rumble, this ice peak was kicked to pieces and ice shards flew everywhere. Emo saw this was a real ice peak. No one was inside. Who dares to ravage our ice god palace? A cold voice sounded and then a blue-dressed female immortal flew over. Emo's spirit sense already saw this woman. She was extremely beautiful and her body was amazing. She flew over rapidly. She was Immortal King tertiary stage power. Did you guys come from Qingwei Abyssal River? The Immortal King dazed in front of Emo and Shadowless. She felt a powerful killing chi from Shadowless. Only someone who crossed the Qingwei Abyssal River would have this, but who could cross the river? Is this Ice God Palace? Emo saluted with his fists and asked. The female Immortal King immediately said, "That's right. This is Ice God Palace. Since you know it's our place, Why did you break our ice peak? Oh, my pet is stupid, but I already criticized him, Emo said casually. Shadowless looked at Emo speechlessly too. I came to visit Ice God Palace Lord. Lead the way, Emo said. The female Immortal King sneered. Do you think you can visit our Palace Lord whenever you want? Our Ice God Palace won't allow outsiders to come. Anyone who enters our domain will be killed. Then, this Immortal King released an ice moon shovel and attacked Emo. Emo had heard of this rule. But with the Ice God Palace being here, ordinary people wouldn't even be able to come here. Emo knew the Ice God Palace probably had a safe and hidden entrance. Only people from the Ice God Palace would know. As for the Immortal King, she didn't have any killing intent when she attacked. She wasn't a bad person and probably just wanted to shoo them off. Emo didn't trouble her and hacked with Zissou hacking the spade away. With his power, if he didn't want to show any respect, he could grab the spade with his hand and remove her spirit sense mark very quickly. Before the Immortal King could be shocker, another dashing light came. Martial Sister Luo Yu, what is this? An icy cold voice sounded. Emo and Shadowless studied this woman. She was Immortal Monarch primary stage and was half a head taller than that Martial Sister. She wore a white immortal robe. If the Immortal King still had a sliver of emotion, the Immortal Monarch had no life force in her voice. It was completely icy cold. Even Shadowless was uncomfortable hearing this voice. Martial Sister Jiwan, this person brought his immortal pet into our Ice God Palace forbidden grounds. I was planning to capture them. Luo Yu bowed and said, a mere insect. Kill them. The Immortal Monarch sneered and released a silver blade hacking at Emo without asking anything. This silver blade brought tens of thousands of sword rays and swept Emo and Shadowless in at the same time. The Immortal King couldn't bear to look at them grinded to pieces and subconsciously looked away. Shadowless was furious and bit down. Countless silver blades were immediately devoured and disappeared. A dimmed silver blade fell from the sky and Emo pulled it into his hands while punching. Before when Immortal Monarch could wake up from her shock, Emo's fist force away. She was punched flying and smashed into a mountain a few hundred meters away. The mountain was pulverized, but she was paralyzed on the ground as she kept spitting blood. Her meridians were broken. Emo released a blue flame and threw the silver blade into the fire. In a few seconds, the blade was turned to dust. At this moment, Luo Yu Immortal King finally woke up and charged towards her martial sister. She took out a pill and put it into her mouth immediately. She didn't have the time to think how Emo could beat an Immortal Monarch into heavy injury with one move. Emo wasn't in a rush to leave. He was waiting for this Immortal King to save her martial sister Jiwan. He showed mercy just then. If he didn't, that martial sister Jiwan would have been torn to pieces. Nye Shuangshuang was still in the Ice God Palace. Before he saw Nye Shuangshuang, he didn't want to kill Ice God Palace people. With the help of that Immortal King, the Immortal Monarch's body wasn't destroyed. She was held up by the Immortal King as she stared at Emo with shock and terror. At this moment, she finally realized that Emo was Immortal Emperor. At the same time, she sent out a message. He was waiting for the 3 Ice God Palace Lords to come. It really wasn't easy for him to find where the palace was. There were restrictions and stealth formations everywhere. Soon after Jiwan made the message, 7 dashing lights came over. Emo's spirit sense saw clearly that the one leading the charge was an Immortal Emperor primary stage. They were all women. The Immortal Emperor seemed even younger than Luo Yu Immortal King. She had a white veil on her face and wore faint green robes. No one could see her real appearance, but just looking at her body, people would know she couldn't be ugly. Out of the 6 people following, 3 were Immortal King Tertiary Stage and 2 were Immortal Monarch. 1 was only Great Extreme Immortal. Greet 3rd Palace Lord. When the green-robed Immortal Emperor came, Luo Yu and Jiwan immediately bowed. So this was Ice God Palace 3rd Palace Lord. Wuxia was right. The 3 Palace Lords were all Immortal Emperors. It was the 2nd Palace Lord who took Nye Shuangshuang. Looking at Jiwan's injury, the 3rd Palace Lord immediately frowned. She took out a pill and gave it to Jiwan. Before Jiwan could thank her, the 3rd Palace Lord turned to Emo. Emo greet third palace lord. Emo saluted with his fists and asked, "Why did you barge into our ice god palace territory and injure my ice god palace sect member?" The third palace lord's tone was as cold as Ji Wen's. Emo was very annoyed. Did this place produce ice people? Why did they speak in the same tone? Regardless if this place is your ice god palace, I have no ill intention here. I just came to visit the three palace lord and bring a message for ice god palace. Yet your sect members has no manners. The first sect member at least said something, but the second one didn't even ask anything and attacked. I already gave you huge face by not killing her, Emo said with annoyance. Third palace lord sneered. What a huge face. Then her force suddenly rose. The nearby icy space seemed to be swept by her domain. Her domain had terrifying frosty killing chi. The nearby sect members all retreated. They knew the terror of the third palace lord. Shadowless glanced at Emo and seeing his boss annoyed, he immediately called, "A mere immortal emperor primary stage dares to be cocky. You're not taking the respect we're giving you. I'll eat." Shadowless opened his mouth and the immortal emperor domain was instantly bit open. At the same time, third palace lord's face changed. Before she could release her magic artifact, Shadowless sucked and her domain completely disappeared. Shadowless chewed a few times before moaning. This domain is so shit. It's far weaker than Chuchen Divine Emperor's domain and even Wei Feng Grand Emperor's domain. This isn't satisfying. Emo stared at Shadowless with his jaws open. When did this guy know how to bluff like this? Since when did he bite Chuchen Divine Emperor's domain? Plus, Chuchen Divine Emperor was probably weaker than Wei Feng Grand Emperor now. Emo wasn't gonna call Shadowless out, of course. The third palace lord saw her domain didn't even bring up the corner of Yemo's clothes and was devoured by Yemo's pet. This Emo didn't even move nor release magic artifact. A pet that could devour immortal emperor domain was already shocking enough, but now this pet said her domain was too weak and was weaker than Chuchen Divine Emperor and Wei Feng Grand Emperor. Of course she had heard of these two. Chuchen Divine Emperor was a legendary powerful being. She didn't expect he was still alive and the two fought. She had seen Wei Feng Grand Emperor. They wouldn't say such things if they weren't truly able to take Wei Feng on. "Boss, should we invade first?" Shadowless saw that his words shocked an immortal emperor and immediately said gloatingly. Emo knew that these things shouldn't go over the line, so he yelled, "Shut up." The third palace lord didn't have the force with which she came with. She made an extremely simple bow to Emo. "Immortal friend, why did you charge into our ice god palace?" Emo knew that this palace lord didn't dare to use force after seeing his power. Emo didn't keep abusing her since Nye Shuangshuang was still in her. He saluted with his fists and said, "I already said that I came to visit Ice God Palace to visit the three palace lords and to bring a message for someone. That's all. But your way of hospitality isn't polite at all. So that's it. I'm the third palace lord Ru Shu. Sorry for my rudeness. This way, please, immortal friend Yi." The third palace lord changed her manners as though she was truly sorry after knowing why Emo came here. Emo knew that this couldn't be it. He sound transmission to Shadowless and let Shadowless be wary. Who knew if there would traps laid out for that? Ji1 was taken care of by someone. Emo and Shadowless followed the third palace lord and crossed many ice peaks but still didn't see Ice God Palace. On the way, Emo's spirit sense scanned all sorts of restrictions and stealth formations. He didn't know what was inside, but he had less good feelings towards the Ice God Palace. Another 5 minutes later, a huge black ice door appeared before Emo. 3 words floated above the door: Ice God Palace. Ice God Palace smiled to Emo. "Immortal friend Yi, the Ice God Palace is here. Please go in." Emo went in the door with Shadowless without hesitation. He knew there was some problems with the way they were taken here, but he wasn't scared. When Ji1 asked for help, the third palace lord soon arrived there, but now, it took more than 15 minutes to get here. Emo didn't know if the place here was the real Ice God Palace, as there were spirit sense restrictions everywhere. His spirit sense couldn't reach further. Although Emo's spirit sense god art could easily break in, he didn't do this. He was still a guest here. If he broke the restrictions, he would be offending them. Moments later, the third palace lord brought Emo to a round hall. Seeing Emo come in, a wealthy-looking lady sitting inside came up. Su Lian, welcome immortal friend Yi to the Ice God Palace. This wealthy lady came up and bowed. Palace Lord. Third Palace Lord bowed to this woman and said to Emo, immortal friend Yi. She's our big Palace Lord. Emo returned the gesture. He knew the Ice God Palace was prepared. He didn't even speak and the big Palace Lord knew his name. This big Palace Lord seemed much more lively than the third Palace Lord. Her cultivation level was also far higher. She was Immortal Emperor Tertiary stage. This hall was very round, but other than the big Palace Lord and the third Palace Lord, there was only some bland-tasting immortal tea. It was a far cry from ethereal Immortal Pon's welcome to him. Although the two were rather polite, Emo felt a sliver of discomfort. He cancelled the thought of telling them that he brought their small world over. He had decided to see Nye Xianxia first. Palace Lords. I heard there's also a second Palace Lord of Ice God Palace. How come I don't see her? Emo asked. The big Palace Lord frowned, but this action immediately faded. She smiled and said, Martial Sister Tan Yao is still in solitary cultivation. What matter did immortal friend Yi come to Ice God Palace for? I heard you say you were here to deliver a message to Ice God Palace. What message is it? Oh, I mainly came here to see Nye Xianxia. Is she all right now? Emo didn't want to say anything before he saw Nye Xianxia. Nye Xianxia, the big Palace Lord repeated in surprise. She had never really expected Emo to come to see Nye Xianxia. Immortal friend Yi knows Xianxia? Third Palace Lord asked in surprise. Emo got up and saluted with his fists. That's right. Xianxia is my friend and we come from the same place. I came to find here. If she's here, then please call her over. Martial Sister Ru Shu. Stay with immortal friend Yi here, I'll bring Xianxia over. Unexpectedly, the big Palace Lord didn't reject it all and got up. It seemed Xianxia had some status here. Otherwise, the big Palace Lord wouldn't go to call her over personally. Emo eased up and sat down while saluted with his fists to big Palace Lord. After the Palace Lord left, the third Palace Lord was more hospitable to Emo. Unlike how she didn't want to talk before, she kept asking Emo all sorts of questions. But soon Emo found that her questions were a bit strange. She didn't ask where he came from, nor how he knew Xianxia, nor how he knew Xianxia was here. She asked about how Emo crossed the Qingwei Abyssal River and what he saw on the way. She would ask every detail. 5 minutes later, Emo still didn't see big Palace Lord bring Xianxia over. He was confused. The Ice God Palace only needed a few minchus to bring someone over. 15 minutes later, Emo suddenly got up. No matter how hospitable third Palace Lord was, he didn't want to keep waiting. At this moment, Emo heard Nye Xianxia's shaky and joyful voice. Is that Brother Yi? Emo looked up and saw Nye Xianxia standing at the door with teary eyes. The big Palace Lord wasn't by her. She wore a faint green dress just like when they first went on a date. The third Palace Lord got up and said softly, Immortal friend Yi, please talk to Xianxia. I'll leave for a moment. Shadowless seemed to know it shouldn't stay here and went into the Golden Page world. Brother Yi, it's your immortal pet? Nye Xianxia noticed Shadowless. Emo quickly said, No need to mind him. Xianxia, it's only been 100 years and your golden immortal primary stage. How did you cultivate so quickly? When Emo brought her into the immortal realm, she was only an ordinary chi-gathering cultivator. Brother Yi, if it wasn't for you, Xianxia would have been dead already. I didn't expect I would be able to see you again in my lifetime. Xianxia couldn't resist sniffing. Emo felt a little wrong. He couldn't feel what was wrong, but he felt that his reunion with her shouldn't feel like this. He didn't feel any happiness seeing her again. Xianxia, give me your wrist. Emo went up and grabbed her wrist. He really wanted to know if she was the real Nye Xianxia and if there were some sort of restrictions on her. Nye Xianxia had been in the Golden Page world for all these years. Emo was used to her chi already. After running his immortal essence in Nye Xianxia's body, he immediately knew this was the real Nye Xianxia and she had no restrictions. Emo breathed easy. Shuang. What was the situation at the time? Shuang looked around carefully and suddenly sound transmission to Emo. Will you take me away later? Yes, Shuang. I don't feel this place is good. I really don't like this place. I don't want you to keep staying here, so I want to take you away, Emo said. Shuang breathed easy. After we leave here, I'll tell you. All these things that happened is hard to say in a few words. But I'm happy to see you again here. No, Shuang, you were frozen by the shadowless worm to save me. Thinking about this, Emo wanted to ask about her shadowless worm but was pulled by Shuang. Let's talk in my room. I don't like it here. Shuang's place wasn't small. There was a garden. Her cultivation room was separated with her sleeping room. Shuang's bedroom was simple but elegant. Emo liked it this way. Seemed more real. Shuang poured a cup for Emo and sat down too. Shuang, you seem to have something on your mind? Emo felt Shuang wasn't right. No. Shuang shook her head. I've lived here for 100 years. My master is very nice to me and she's still in solitary cultivation. Thinking about how I'm about to leave her and the Ice God Palace, I'm a bit sad. Suddenly, Shuang seemed to have thought of the past and sighed. Brother Yi, do you still remember my first pet Luan? I actually miss it a bit. I love reminiscing the past. Brother Yi, it's just like the first time I saw you. I feel this serenity on you. I like that feeling. I'm even thinking if many things were like the past I would be very happy. Emo quickly interrupted her. Shuang, don't bring up the past. I'll take you to leave this place. This isn't a good place. I'll take you to a better place with many friends. Brother Yi, I don't want to stay here too. Shuang nodded and suddenly asked in confusion, Brother Yi, you said I was only a chi-gathering cultivator before. How did you bring me to the immortal realm? It's luck. Emo hesitated and said, Shuang, I'll tell you after we go out, it's nothing amazing. Shuang nodded obediently. Okay. Brother Yi, what's your current cultivation level? I've never seen the big palace lord and third palace lord greet a man at the same time. Emo didn't hide it. I had some fortune so my cultivation speed is fast, but it's not as high as your palace lords. It's mainly because my pet is strong and likes to bluff. That's why the two palace lord are concerned. Shuang was only golden immortal primary stage. Emo didn't want to say his cultivation level in case she felt the difference was too huge. Is it the dragon horse with wings? Shuang asked in surprise and joy. Emo felt more and more uncomfortable. He felt this wasn't the words he wanted to talk with Shuang now. However, he still nodded. Yes, by the way, Shuang, where's your shadowless worm? Emo knew that shadowless needed too much resources to grow. Even if Shuang was in the Ice God Palace, she might not be able to feed it. He asked this to find a way to help her feed it. I've kept it somewhere. I'll go get it. Brother Yi, thank you for bringing me to the immortal realm. Shuang thanked again. Emo frowned. Shuang, you don't need to be so polite. If you didn't save me with your life, I would be dead already. What I did for you is nothing. Shuang's eyes went red and she sobbed, No, Brother Yi, I pretty much did nothing. Before meeting you, I only knew loneliness. After knowing you, I had friends. I'm forever grateful to you. This was the first time Emo sensed Shuang's real emotions coming here. He reproached himself for thinking so much. He quickly got up and said, Shuang, let's not talk about this. We'll talk about this after we leave. Brother Yi, this is my bedroom. Wait for me a bit. I'll be back soon. Shuang left with a red face and closed the door after leaving. Emo sat in her room and felt a little unnatural. This room was hers, but he had this strange feeling. If this wasn't Shuang's bedroom, Emo's spirit sense would have scanned out carefully. Shuang had been in his golden page world for many years. It should be fine if he checked right. Emo scanned his spirit sense and immediately got up. This was indeed a bedroom, but everything inside had never been used. Emo's spirit sense scanned out and found his spirit sense was blocked by the door. Without hesitation, Emo dashed to the door and pulled the handle. Brother Yi, sorry you saved me a few times and I only saved you once. But this time I'm gonna take it back. I'm really sorry. I have no other way. You really shouldn't have come to find me. You already touched the bottom line of our ice god palace. You can leave rest assured. If one day I can go back to Earth, I will build a tomb for you. 'Cause I truly like you. People eventually change. I changed, Brother Yi. I'm sorry. Nye Shuangshuang's voice stopped as the huge cracking sounds enveloped her voice. Emo found this place was completely sealed by all sorts of restrictions. He couldn't break free at all. At the same time, an extremely terrifying frost smashed down. It was hundreds of times more terrifying than the ice forest. As soon as Emo scanned his spirit sense out, it was freezed cracking and there was this pain in his sea of consciousness. In that instant, Emo knew that regardless if he could break this formation or not, if he stayed here, he would die. Even an immortal Emperor peak stage with immortal god body tertiary stage wouldn't necessarily be able to resist this coldness. The ice god palace was too scary. They could mobilize such terrifying cold. Even spirit sense wouldn't be able to move in this cold, much less body. Emo went into the golden page world without hesitation. This was with him being immortal god body middle stage power. If his body refinement was a little lower, he wouldn't even have time to go into the golden page world. In the golden page world, Emo wasn't angry at all. It was just as Nye Shuangshuang said. She saved him once and now took it back. Emo was someone who valued emotions. He came over just for Nye Shuangshuang but was ambushed by her. There was only disappointment coming from the bottom of his heart. People would eventually change. Perhaps Nye Shuangshuang's words were true, but Emo found that he had never changed from the start to the end. He didn't know why Nye Shuangshuang did this. He checked her and knew she wasn't being controlled. Even if she wanted to stay in the Ice God Palace, she didn't have to kill him. Emo carefully reached his spirit sense out, and as soon as it left the golden page world, it was turned to nothing by that terrifying cold. He could only feel that the golden page world was brought into the depth of the earth by this cold. A few days later, Emo felt the golden page world had stopped before he scanned his spirit sense out. The cold was much better than before, but he still couldn't send his spirit sense out for long. Emo knew that he didn't have to go out now. He only needed to wait. Even the formation builder wouldn't be able to see inside. Emo believed that no one in the Ice God Palace now had the power to set up such formation. It was definitely left behind from ancient times or just used by the Ice God Palace people. He suspected he didn't even go into the Ice God Palace. Shadowless didn't dare to speak after knowing that boss was ambushed, so he went to small ginseng to research the wine. After knowing now wasn't a good time to go out, Emo took out the time formation disc and started spirit controlling those few bone arrows and the other short dagger. In a palace within the Ice God Palace, the big palace lord, third palace lord, and Nye Shuangshuang sat together. Shuangshuang, do you like that Emo? Third palace lord suddenly asked. Nye Shuangshuang quickly bowed. Yes. When I was in the mortal realm I liked him, but that was a long time ago. Third palace lord nodded. That Emo is rather devoted in Emo to find it all the way here. His cultivation level isn't high, but his immortal pet is good. After 49 years and the formation opens, if his immortal pet is still there you can take it. The big palace lord added Shuangshuang. You will be reaching the highest divine emperor in the future. Our Ice God Palace will never stay in one corner. You saw your own past life, you know the path you need to take. Let go of what needs to be let go. It might be hard at first, but you will cherish your decision in the future. You did very well now. Shuangshuang will remember the two palace lords' teachings. Nye Shuangshuang quickly said. The big palace lord sighed. Shuangshuang, you don't need to be so polite in front of us. Your origin isn't simple, your future won't be simple either. As though seeing Nye Shuangshuang's eyes seemed a bit dim, big palace lord stopped and said softly, Shuangshuang, go rest first. I have some things to discuss with third palace lord. After Nye Shuangshuang left, third palace lord said in confusion, Martial sister. Shuangshuang said she forgot to ask Emo about the shadowless worm. This big palace lord sighed. Shuangshuang is having a hard time. Her Dao heart isn't firm. After all, Emo was someone she liked and now she killed him personally. Although it would benefit her in the future, she can't let go yet. As for Shadowless Worm, she intentionally didn't ask. After all, she met with Yi Mo due to it. Martial sister, what do you feel is that Yi Mo's cultivation level? The big palace lord asked again. Third palace lord thought for a moment and said, Martial sister, that Yi Mo's power is no lower than yours. He came from the Qingwei Abyssal River. He definitely saw the secret of the Ice God Palace. We mustn't be merciful to such a person. I've never seen someone who could cross the Qingwei Abyssal River, but this person could. Plus, if what Xianxia said is true, I really can't imagine how he reached Immortal Emperor in such a short time. There definitely is a huge secret on him. I believe since he fought with Wei Feng Grand Emperor, he would be famous in the Immortal realm. We only need to send someone out to investigate. That works. The big palace lord nodded. No matter how big his secret is, when the Ice God formation opens, it will belong to us. Half a month later, Yi Mo refined the third bone arrow to the 48th restriction. Then he breathed easier. The third arrow was harder than the previous two combined. When he spirit controlled it to the 48th level of restriction, Yi Mo felt that the third arrow was much stronger than the first two arrows. If he spirit controlled all 108 levels of restriction, Yi Mo suspected that 3 consecutive arrows might even take out a divine emperor. He carefully put the 3 arrows away and then spirit controlled that dagger. Afterward, he found out that the name of the dagger was Melt Space. Other than that, he really didn't find any use for it. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense out of the golden page world again. He found that coldness had become much weaker. Yi Mo didn't hesitate anymore and left the golden page world. The bone-piercing cold instantly turned his clothes into nothing. Yi Mo was shocked. Even his immortal god body middle stage body was shaking under this coldness. This coldness wants something flames could stop. Yi Mo used his body refinement cultivation method and took out formation flags made with top-level materials. In order to leave this space, he had to find a way to break the formation door. This took time, so he needed to set up a place he could stay. The golden page world was safe, but he couldn't leave the formation. Yi Mo's formation skills were beyond level 8 Immortal Formation Grandmaster. In half a day's time, Yi Mo set up a frost barrier formation and the nearby coldness immediately weakened. Then, he put on a new set of clothes. Yi Mo thought that with his formation skills and deriving capabilities, he would be able to leave here if he settled his mind. But when Yi Mo derived this formation for half a month and had zero clue, he realized he was too optimistic. Yi Mo even called out Small Ginseng. Small Ginseng only recognized it was a natural attack formation. One could only wait till the formation opened up naturally. Yi Mo knew this too, but he didn't know when it would open and he didn't want to wait here. A few months passed and he still didn't open this formation. Yi Mo became worried. He suddenly thought of the blue bead small world in the golden page world. If he had the slightest respect for Ice God Palace before, it was all gone now. He took out the small world and started to spirit control it. With his immortal monarch peak power, it didn't take much time. In just half a day, he completely spirit controlled this small world. The inside of the world clearly imprinted in Yi Mo's spirit sense. Yi Mo went into the small world without hesitation. The small world wasn't big, only 1,000 km radius. There was blue mountains and lush green waters. The immortal spirit chi here was also extremely dense. There was a row of exquisite houses in the most obvious place in the small world. Amongst the houses, there was a 1 km tall tree. It was the tree Yi Mo found in the Ice God Forbidden Grounds. There was a black ice bed at the tree roots and on the bed was Qing Ru. After all these years, Yi Mo was still shocked by Qing Ru's beauty upon seeing her. She was too beautiful. Zhen Bingyu and Luo Ying's beauty could make people feel close, but her beauty didn't seem real. Even after laying here for all these years, her body was still the best Yi Mo had seen. The only one who could match her was Zhen Bingyu, but that was after Zhen Bingyu cultivated body refinement. This woman probably naturally had this perfect body. Yi Mo put a heaven heart soul recovery pill in her mouth. Yi Mo was the only one who had the pill recipe. This was the top level 9 immortal pill, he made with dark weed, level 9 immortal spirit herb high tianlan and een blue plum. If the essence spirit was still alive, the pill could save the person. Emo was certain Qing Ru's soul hadn't disappeared. As long as she had a sliver of soul, he could save her and ask what this formation was. The pill immediately melted in Qing Ru's mouth. Emo soon felt many immortal spirit qi insert into Qing Ru's body. Indeed, in less than half a day, Qing Ru opened her eyes. She seemed a little confused and looked around before sitting up. Soon, she realized this was her small world and breathed easy. But when she saw Emo not far from her, she landed on the ground in shock. "Who are you? Why are you in my small world?" Qing Ru asked without hesitation. Emo said plainly, "It's not important who I am, what's important is who are you?" Emo was actually shocked when the woman woke up. Her cultivation level seemed a little too low. She was only abstruse immortal primary stage. How did she get to the cultivation realm? "I'm Qing Ru," Qing Ru said and then frowned. She immediately said in shock, "I remember. You're the person I asked to take me away?" "That's right. I took you away from that place." Emo nodded. "Thank you." Qing Ru quickly bowed and didn't blame why Emo was in her small world. She could feel her small world had been spirit-controlled by Emo. "May I ask, Martial Brother, where is this place?" Qing Ru scanned her spirit sense out and could only feel coldness and a very sophisticated formation. "Ice God Palace," Emo answered. Qing Ru's face showed a surprise and joyful expression completely different to her sad look before. "You really took me to Ice God Palace? I want to see Ice God Palace, Palace Lord," Qing Ru said, and then realized she was too desperate and said to Emo, "Sorry, I'm too desperate." She didn't even ask how Emo came to the immortal realm nor Yemo's name. Emo sneered. "I was planning to take you to see the big palace lord and Ionid saw her. But before I can take you out, I was ambushed by your big palace lord and third palace lord. I'm trapped by an extremely cold formation." "What?" Qing Ru called out in shock. "This is impossible, impossible." Emo ignored her and took out her of the small world before pointing outside. "Impossible? Have a look at yourself." "Ice God Formation," Qing Ru murmured to herself. "What is Ice God Formation?" Emo saw that Qing Ru actually knew this formation and quickly asked with hope. "He used his level 9 immortal pill right?" Qing Ru said seriously, "It's the number formation of the Ice God Palace. Even if a divine emperor comes, he would be trapped by the Ice God Formation. What atrocity did you do in the Ice God Palace? Otherwise, the big palace lord would definitely not use such means against you." "Bullshit," Emo yelled in fury. "I brought you back to Ice God Palace in goodwill. The old defarts of Ice God Palace didn't thank me and instead ambushed me. What atrocity. I didn't even touch a small grass of Ice God Palace." Then Emo added in his heart, "I didn't break the mountain." Hearing Yemo's words were coarse, Qing Ru frowned immediately. She remembered she was heavily injured. How could she suddenly wake up? Thinking about this, she immediately asked, "You saved me?" Emo sneered. "What do you think? I used all my fortune to get a level 9 immortal pill and I used it to save you. Yet your Ice God Palace tries to kill me." Emo felt he was becoming more and more like Shadowless. If it was Shadowless, he would probably say that from beginning to now, he had used all his time to gather immortal crystals to buy this pill. Qing Ru seemed to be someone easy to talk to. If he could get on her side, she might be able to tell him a way out. "Wait, it's not right." Qing Ru didn't become all grateful to Emo due to his words. She just woke up and there were a lot of things she didn't think. Now her brain was slowly away and she remembered how could Emo be fine after the Ice God Palace activated the Ice God Formation? Even her small world was fine. This didn't make sense. Even a small world can't resist the force of the formation. She knows how long she had been asleep. Even if Emo ascended when she fell asleep, there was no way he could cultivate to a stage to survive the Ice God Formation. "How did you block the Ice God Formation?" Qing Ru asked. Emo sneered. "That's my business, it has nothing to do with you. Your Ice God Palace owes me, not the other way around." Emo felt this Qing Ru wasn't simple to be able to recognize the formation, but he desperately wanted to go out, so he didn't bother asking why she went to the cultivation realm and ended up in that situation. Regardless of who is right, the big palace lord won't casually use the formation against you. She's about to reach Tao Vindication Divine Emperor. How can she do that? Plus, the big palace lord is very nice. She would never treat someone who helped the Ice God Palace like that. Qing Ru shook her head. Emo said in contempt, Tao Vindication Divine Emperor? Keep dreaming. How can someone like her reach Tao Vindication? Qing Ru frowned and said, I can't see your cultivation level, you're probably much stronger than me. Otherwise, the Ice God Palace wouldn't use the Ice God formation against you. When I left the Immortal realm to the Cultivation realm, the big palace lord was already Immortal Emperor peak stage. There's no way that she hadn't improved after all these years. Emo was confused. Was there something wrong with that big palace lord? He waved out an image. This is the big and third palace lord who attacked me? Huh. This. Qing Ru stared at the image in a daze. How could this be? This isn't your Ice God Palace people? Emo asked. Qing Ru fell silent for a long while before saying, the big palace lord you said is the original second palace lord, not the big palace lord I mentioned. The third palace lord is a martial uncle of mine, I think. You think the original big palace lord is gone? How long had you left the Ice God Palace? Perhaps it's the second palace lord who harmed your big palace lord with others. Emo said. Qing Ru shook her head. No, martial uncle Ru Shu is big palace lord's disciple. Su Lian palace lord respects big palace lord greatly. I believe. Something must have happened in the Ice God Palace all these years I wasn't here. Emo frowned. You go deal with whatever happened in your Ice God Palace. I want to leave here. Do you have a way out? I brought you to the Ice God Palace and used my most precious pill to save you. I don't care about what the Ice God Palace did to me, nor do I want any relations with them. If possible, I just want to leave. Emo didn't want to stay here. He didn't like this place. Although Nie Shuangshuang saved him once and he wouldn't kill her, he didn't want to have anything to do with her. Qing Ru bowed to Emo again. Sorry. No matter who you are, you saved me. I have a way out. I haven't asked for your name yet. Emo waved his hand. Qing Ru didn't keep asking Emo's name. She resisted the urge to ask how Emo survived in the formation and how he cultivated so quickly. She didn't know why the Ice God Palace used such formation against Emo, but she could feel Emo wasn't the evil man she thought. Qing Ru didn't lie. With her explanation, Emo immediately realized why he couldn't go out. The formation was no ordinary formation. It was a top natural Ice God Trap formation. Could be activated by cultivators. If outsiders didn't understand the theory behind the formation, then the formation flags they made would be useless. Only two people could release the formation according to Qing Ru, the original Big Palace Lord and her. The reason they could release it wasn't because their formation skills were high, but because they had a formation flag to leave this natural formation. The formation was a natural formation, and the two natural formation flags were called yin-yang formation flags. It was born with the formation. Either flag could be used to leave the formation, but if one wanted to come in from an activated formation, they needed both flags. Now that Qing Ru had the yin flag, she could take Emo out of the formation. This was countless times easier than Emo had imagined. From this, Emo could see that when Qing Ru left the Ice God Palace, she had very high status here. Coming back to the snowy landscape, Emo sighed. A few months ago, he was worried about Nie Shuangshuang, but now, he just wanted to leave this place. He had never thought of annihilating the Ice God Palace. He could tell Nie Shuangshuang's status wasn't low here. If Nie Shuangshuang didn't kill him, then she would never activate this formation. Or it was that she couldn't stop the two palace lords from wanting to detonate this formation. Nie Shuangshuang could have hinted him, but she didn't even do that. This completely disappointed Emo. The exit to Ice God Palace is very hidden. I'll take you out, otherwise you would never be able to find the exit. Qing Ru saw Emo was a bit sad and said. Emo laughed dejectedly. No need. Thanks for bringing me out. I saved you and you saved me. We don't owe each other. Go back to your Ice God Palace. Don't worry about me getting revenge. I never thought about it. Qing Ru smiled sweetly. Thank you. I don't know your name, but I believe you. I won't go back to the Ice God Palace now. I need to find my master. She isn't in the Ice God Palace. Since you can talk about revenge on the Ice God Palace, I believe your cultivation level must be very high. If you don't want to leave with me, can you lend me a flying magic artifact? No problem. Yemo had plenty of extreme-grade flying immortal artifacts. He subconsciously took out a ring and stared at the storage ring for a long time before suddenly taking out an exquisite flying ship to Qingru. You can have this, goodbye. Then Yemo disappeared. Ha! Qingru dazed at the flying magic artifact Yemo gave her. It was such an exquisite flying ship and Yemo just gave it to her. This ship was also an extreme-grade immortal artifact. There was such a generous person in this world? Thinking about how Yemo gave her a level 9 immortal pill, she believed Yemo was such a generous person. She immediately found a hidden place to spirit control this immortal ship. A few days later, she spirit controlled the ship and saw there was a small row of words, Xianxia's immortal ship. Xianxia's flying ship? Who was Xianxia? She didn't know that the entire storage ring was prepared for Xianxia. Now that Yemo was so disappointed, he gave away this specially made flying ship to Qingru. Leaving this flying ship was too sad. He might as well give it away. Of course Yemo knew how to leave Ice God Palace. He came by the Qingwei Abyssal River and now he would leave that way too. When Yemo came back to that icy mountain range, he saw Xianxia again. She stood before a white icy grave and seemed to be murmuring. Yemo immediately flew over. With his current cultivation level, even if he stood before her, she wouldn't be able to notice him. There was a stone tablet on the grave with the words, Yemo's grave. Brother Yi, I really hoped you didn't come here. If you didn't, no one would know you existed and we would forget each other. I would definitely not go find you. Maybe this is just what I wanted, but you came to the Ice God Palace. I don't know who brought you here, but when I do I will kill her and get revenge for you. Today is your anniversary. I came to bring you a cup of wine. I won't be coming back again. Perhaps this is good. My mortal Tao is severed. There's nothing left to reminisce. Goodbye. Then, Xianxia poured that cup of wine on the tomb before turning to leave. Moments later, she disappeared from Yemo's sight. Yemo suddenly had this sadness in his heart. There was some misunderstanding when he first met but later, he knew that her nature was good. But what she did now completely confused him. Clearly she tried to kill him, but she wanted to kill someone else to get revenge for him. Such people could always find an excuse for themselves. If it was some other woman who wanted his life like that, Yemo would have killed her without hesitation, but for Xianxia, he didn't have any intentions to kill her. She could be ruthless, but he couldn't do the same as her. Just as she said, just forget each other. Yemo walked up to that tombstone and left 3 lines of words. Before, I wanted to live with you, but that was an extravagant wish. Later, I want to forget you, but it is still an extravagant wish. Now, we're separated by yin and yang. Yemo kicked and the ice tomb was kicked to oblivion. He then threw out Shadowless and said, Shadowless, speed up and row the boat on the Abyssal River, we're going back. 7 days later, Yemo crossed the Abyssal River and came to the riverbank. Yemo spent these 7 days in cultivation. He needed power. If he didn't reach Immortal Emperor, he would be lacking on foundation even if he had power rivaling Immortal Emperor. The riverbank was still the same. Yemo had crossed the river twice and been to the Lightning Kill Palace. His spirit sense wasn't just 1 km like before, it was a few kilometers. Some body refinement immortals were still cultivating their bodies on the riverbanks while finding wine kill stone. The Dunyang Hotel was still there. When I put away Shadowless and went into the hotel, there were still a few people sitting there drinking wine. However, Yemo didn't see Chuchen Divine Emperor nor that old woman. Yemo was only Immortal King middle stage, and when he walked in no one even looked at him. However, Dunyang was startled off her seat and quickly walked out and bowed. Dunyang, greet immortal friend Yi. The immortal kings and immortal monarchs drinking were dazed. They had been here for countless years but had never seen Dunyang leave the counter to greet someone. There were a few immortal emperors here, but even if they came she only politely saluted with her fists. Who was this youth to allow her to come out and greet? Yemo didn't mind. She was close to Chuchen Divine Emperor. It would be strange if she wasn't scared of him. Get me 1 kettle or white wine and 2 bottles of black wine. Yemo nodded and said, He told small ginseng to produce wine, but it had only been this long and small ginseng hadn't produced the wines yet. By the looks of it, small ginseng seemed very interested in Chuchen Divine Emperor's other wine recipes. Who knows how long it would be before he could drink the wine made by small ginseng. Emo knew that there were much black wine, so he only asked for 2 bottles. Everyone dazed and looked at Emo in shock. They've been here for so long and seen people buy white wine, but that was in bottles. They've never seen people buy black wine. Now, an immortal king asked for a kettle of white wine and 2 bottles of black wine. However, what shocked them more was that Dunyang took it out without hesitation and didn't even ask Emo for the wine kill stones first. Emo was used to eating first and then paying, so he took the white wine and drank. An extremely fierce killing intent filled his entire body. This killing intent was more than 10 times stronger than the blue wine. Before he even refined the killing intent and killing chi in the wine, a terrifying killing intent emitted from his body. The nearby immortal monarchs quickly used their cultivation method to block this. Good wine, Emo praised, and his contemptuous opinions of Chuchen Divine Emperor were gone. To be able to make such wine, one's wine-making skills had to reach a new peak, as well as his understanding of killing intent and lethal force. Only then would you be able to turn the killing intent in the wine kill stone into wine intent and allow the drinker to digest it. Small ginseng didn't understand killing intent much. He probably couldn't make such wine. Seeing Emo drink a big gulp of the white wine, people were already very shocked, but then Emo tipped the entire kettle of white wine down. In that instant, there was only the sound of Emo drinking the wine. The dejected feeling of Bane ambushed by Nye Shuangshuang was completely melted in this wine. In that instance, Emo only felt the satisfaction of the killing intent in this wine. That killing chi soon swept Emo's entire body. Emo didn't even need to use 3 birth chant to refine it, and instead used his body refinement cultivation method to feel the lethal force and killing intent of the wine. The killing intent and wine intent spread. How could the immortal kings and immortal monarchs not realize Emo's power? They all moved back, fearing this sharp killing chi would hurt them. This is satisfying. A lot of the dejection in his eyes dissipated, and he finished the white wine. He put the wine kettle on the bar and took out the black wine and gulped. An extremely fierce lethal force swept his entire meridian. Even his sea of consciousness was ravaged by killing chi. This killing intent in the black wine was 10 times stronger than the white wine. Emo had never felt drunk ever since cultivation, but today he was feeling a bit tipsy. This time, he didn't finish the black wine in one go, but instead took out 100 white kill stones and 20 black wine kill stones, and placed it on the counter, and then took the other bottle of black wine before saying in a tipsy tone, Dunyang, "Thank you for your wine. It's great. When Little Mud comes back, tell him that Emo welcomes him to come too." Emo walked out of the Dunyang hotel. Everyone saw Emo take out the wine kill stones and realized that he wasn't going to drink free wine. He took out 100 white stones and 20 black stones in one go. Even immortal emperors might not be able to take out that many in one go. Dunyang looked at Emo dazedly, but Emo already walked out of the hotel. Outside, a song came, "The day before is gone. Happiness if more important than anything. The spilled water can't be taken back." Emo didn't know what song this was, but he remembered in the Beijing bar he was at with Nye Shuangshuang. The bar played this song. Using the murderous chi in the wine, Emo sang this song and melted the sadness in his heart. The song is bad, but the wine is good. A sudden voice woke Emo up a bit. Wrong. The song is good and the wine is too. Another voice sounded. Emo's tipsiness eased. The two came up to him and he didn't even realize. As he woke up from the wine, he felt his immortal essence release and his cultivation level finally reached immortal monarch peak stage. After Emo's initial joy, he looked at these two people seriously. He was shocked that both of them were immortal emperor peak stage and he didn't know a single one of them. The one who said his song was good was a monk who bared his chest. There were massive beads hanging off his neck. Emo scanned with his spirit sense. There seemed to be countless beads, but then later there only seemed to be a few. Emo couldn't tell if the other person was a man or woman. "Who dares to rebuke my words? So it's you again, old man Wuing. Why didn't you stay at the Wuxia Sound River? Ha ha." The monk stared at Emo's wine bottle and said, Your wine seems good, can I have a try? Du Feng monk, where I go is none of your business. If you mind your own business, I can give you a bottle after I kill this kid. Wuyin Immortal Emperor said. Emo's eyes went cold. He didn't expect it was Wuyin Immortal Emperor. No wonder he was Immortal Emperor peak stage. He had come back from the void. Then Feng Kong Grand Emperor was probably back. It seemed he really needed to break through to Immortal Emperor and kill this Wuyin before going after Feng Kong Grand Emperor. Emo knew that Wuyin came just for him and worried about Beiwei and them. Meanwhile, the monk stared at Wuyin Immortal Emperor. Old man Wuyin, do you enjoy abusing people weaker than you? In the Ice Carrot Immortal City, you wanted to abuse a few little girls and I stopped you. Now you want to abuse an immortal king. Thank you Qian Bei for helping at Ice Carrot Immortal City. Emo immediately walked up to that monk and bowed. Emo knew that this monk stopped Wuyin Immortal Emperor from attacking Beiwei and them. I didn't even say it is, and you know those few girls. It seems there's quote the conflict between you guys. You don't need to thank me, just let me have a sip of the wine. Is Dunyang black wine right? I've always wanted to drink, but I can't afford it. After I drink, I'll help you fight. The monk stared at Yi Mo's wine and gulped. Wuyin Immortal Emperor sneered. Du Luo monk, I can give you face for other things, but I must kill this person. He ruined my sect, took my immortal range and robbed my sect members. How can I not kill him? Hearing this, Du Luo monk frowned. If what Wuyin said was real, he really couldn't intervene. If he did, his Nan Ming Heaven Zen Temple would be death enemies with Wuxia Sound River. You're quite bold to do such a thing. I guess you're not an immortal king. What is your cultivation? The old monk smiled at Emo bitterly. He suspected he wouldn't be able to drink his wine today. Emo took away his stealth cultivation method and showed his immortal monarch peak stage power. Thank you Du Feng Qian Bei, but I don't need you to intervene. Old bastard Wuyin captured my wife. I'm long wanted to kill this half-woman half-man. Then, Emo threw his other bottle of black wine to Du Feng monk. I have another bottle here, you can have it. Du Feng subconsciously took the black wine and asked in shock. You're a mere immortal monarch power, and you want to kill immortal emperor peak stage Wuyin? Immortal monarch power. Emo laughed. Soon I won't be immortal monarch power. I need to have my divine damnation and break through to immortal emperor. Please help protect me Du Feng monk and Wuyin old man. Then, Emo glanced at Wuyin immortal emperor in contempt. What? You're gonna break through to immortal emperor now? Here. Du Feng repeated in shock. Was this immortal monarch crazy? This was close to Qingwei Abyssal River. There were murderous qi everywhere. Breaking through to immortal emperor here was the most stupidest thing. Wuyin immortal emperor who was about to attack suddenly stopped. He had heard that although Emo was an immortal monarch but could take on Wei Feng Grand Emperor. Although he didn't fear Wei Feng Grand Emperor, he couldn't beat him for sure. Now that Emo wanted to have divine damnation for immortal emperor, this was the perfect opportunity. He guessed that Emo wanted to break through to immortal emperor and then fight him. But if Emo thought he had the opportunity to reach immortal emperor, he would be dreaming. If immortal emperor was this easy to break through to, then this entire world would be filled with immortal emperors. He was 70% certain that Emo couldn't draw the divine damnation. If Emo failed to reach immortal emperor, his cultivation level would drop 2 levels. Then, he would be able to easily kill him. Even if Emo brought the immortal emperor divine damnation, so what? As soon as Yemo's divine damnation comes, he would attack. As for immortal emperor divine damnation, it was a joke to an immortal emperor tertiary stage peak. If Emo thought he wouldn't dare to attack during his divine damnation, then Emo would be a fool. Emo knew what Wuyin immortal emperor thought. If Wuyin immortal emperor thought his divine damnation would be an ordinary immortal emperor divine damnation, then he would have quite some trouble. Emo was certain that even an immortal emperor peak stage wouldn't be able to safely survive his immortal emperor divine damnation. Emo threw out a few extreme grade immortal ranges and then casually set up a spirit gathering immortal formation. Then he drank all of his black bottle. Du Feng monk stared at Yemo's empty black bottle in shock. He was more shocked about Emo finishing that in one go than Emo throwing out a few extreme grade immortal ranges. Although he hadn't had Dunyang black wine before, he had long heard of it. Even the most powerful body refinement immortal or someone who has deep knowledge of killing intent can only drink one mouthful at a time. Seeing Yemo throw his bottle out, Dufeng monk stared at his black bottle and then raised it, drinking a big mouthful. The terrifying killing intent and killing chi instantly filled his sea of consciousness and meridians. The uncontrollable feeling of being torn apart shocked Dufeng monk. He even suspected Yemo didn't drink the real black wine and gave him the real one. He didn't have time to ask Yemo. If he didn't use this time to calm it down, the killing intent would tear open his sea of consciousness. Yemo didn't have it easy either. One bottle of black wine was terrifying. Wuyin stared at Yemo. Dufeng was in trouble himself. When Yemo failed divine damnation, he could easily kill Yemo. As the three-birth chant ran, the immortal spirit chi of the extreme grade immortal range was swept away by Yemo. Wuyin immortal emperor was shocked at which the speed and power Yemo devoured immortal spirit chi. He made up his mind to kill Yemo this time. Yemo must not be allowed to reach immortal emperor. If Yemo reached immortal emperor, he wouldn't even be able to retaliate. A day later, Du Luo monk spirit controlled the black wine and felt its benefits. He forgot that Yemo was still having a divine damnation and drank another mouthful. This was a wine he truly liked. The sky went dark and a rumbling sound exploded in the sky. Wuyin immortal emperor was a bit dazed. He didn't expect Yemo to really bring the divine damnation, but he cast this aside and secretly released his magic artifact. As soon as the divine damnation came, he would attack. Yemo's mind was completely focused on the divine damnation. Like Dufeng monk, he had already forgotten about Wuyin immortal emperor. He ate a Tai Wei emperor return pill. The powerful pill energy mixed with the black wine energy as well as the immortal spirit chi and charged at that immortal emperor barrier. Rumble. The immortal emperor immediately shook under that charge. Yemo rejoiced. He thought he would need to charge many times or even tens of times, but on the first charge, he reached the immortal emperor barrier. He immediately realized what was going on. According to his cultivation progress, he could long reach immortal emperor. It meant that his foundation as an immortal monarch was enough. The reason he wasn't able to reach immortal emperor was because he couldn't reach immortal monarch peak stage. Crack. As soon as Yemo touched the immortal emperor barrier, the divine damnation fell. Yemo threw another Tai Wei emperor return pill in his mouth without hesitation. He lacked immortal pills the least. These pills were very precious to other sects, but he had plenty. The lightning flashed and Wuyin immortal emperor immediately released his immortal subjugation tree root. He was going to attack when Yemo was struck by the first wave of divine damnation. 9 bluish-black bolts of lightning fell. Wuyin immortal emperor was dazed. He didn't expect Yemo's divine damnation was bucket-size thick, but he was more assured. After these 9 bolts, Yemo would be heavily injured if not dead. Even if he was caught in the divine damnation, he would at most receive light injuries. Wuyin immortal emperor's calculations were very precise. He followed the 9 bolts of lightning closely and attacked Yemo. He was certain that even if he was caught in it, it would be very little. Plus, he released his top-level defense magic artifact Golden Dragon painting to protect him. Crackle crackle. Lightning rained down non-stop. Wuyin immortal emperor was lost for words. Just what divine damnation was Yemo this bastard having? The 9 bolts was only a part of the first wave. After this 9 bolts, 10s more equally sized lightning came. These bolts were less than a second slower than the first 9 bolts. Wuyin immortal emperor counted and there were actually 81 bolts. Wuyin immortal emperor's face went pale. Even though he was immortal emperor peak stage, he couldn't stop such terrifying divine damnation arc. He had released his magic artifact now and even clashed with the latter lightning bolts. This meant that he had been caught into the divine damnation. It was impossible to leave now. At this moment, how could Wuyin immortal emperor not know what Yemo planned? He was furious, but he could only block this divine damnation. He swore he had never seen such terrifying divine damnation in his life. His immortal emperor divine damnation was a small stream compared to the ocean that Yemo's divine damnation was. No wonder Yemo could easily kill Immortal Emperor as an immortal monarch. This person was so absurdly powerful that even the heavens didn't want him to live. If he knew it was such terrifying divine damnation, Wuyin Immortal Emperor would rather run far away. He didn't believe that anyone could survive such divine damnation, not even Yemo. No immortal emperor can survive this divine damnation, maybe not even Truth Divine Emperor. Seeing Wuyin Immortal Emperor get caught in the divine damnation, Yemo sneered. Served this old bastard right. Other people were scared of this divine damnation, but he wasn't at all. He had long predicted that his immortal emperor divine damnation would be crazy. This was just the start. He just needed to speed up reaching immortal emperor at the start. Once he reached immortal emperor, his power would be tens of times stronger. This divine damnation would just be child's play. If Wuyin Immortal Emperor didn't join, he might use Zissou to block a little, but now that Wuyin Immortal Emperor joined, he couldn't even be bothered doing this. He just used the 3-birth chant and body refinement cultivation method like crazy, devouring the lightning source like crazy while refining his body. At the same time, he gathered all his immortal essence to charge at that immortal emperor barrier. Rumble. Tens of water bucket-thick lightning arcs kept smashing on Yemo's body. Blood and flesh rubbed against each other. His bones were cracking with the strikes, but Yemo wasn't scared at all. Taiwei Emperor Return Pill had plenty of power, and with how crazy Yemo was devouring immortal spirit chi and lightning source, the combined power was crazy. But even so, this wave of energy could only shake the immortal emperor barrier. There wasn't even a crack. Yemo knew clearly that although he touched the immortal emperor barrier easily, it wasn't easy to break it. He ignored Wuyin Immortal Emperor and just focused charging at the immortal emperor barrier. Wuyin Immortal Emperor couldn't even protect himself, now much less attack Yemo. He couldn't devour those lightning and didn't have immortal god body refinement. The lightning struck him head-on. Crack. The golden dragon painting only blocked more than 10 thicking lightning arcs and started cracking. Wuyin Immortal Emperor also took back the tree root he attacked Yemo with. He couldn't even save his own life now. How could he attack Yemo? The tree root turned into countless tree roots and extended out. They joined up together to stop the lightning bolts. Bolts of lightning were torn to pieces by Wuyin Immortal Emperor's tree root and clashed with the lightning arcs Yemo smashed away. Wuyin Immortal Emperor's heart was bleeding. The first wave of divine damnation hasn't ended yet, but he was already heavily injured. His golden dragon painting was cracking too. This was his best defense magic artifact. He cherished it like his life. Wuyin Immortal Emperor had made up his mind that after this divine damnation, he would immediately leave the range of the divine damnation. He would definitely not get caught up in Yemo's second wave of divine damnation again. If there was a second wave, he wouldn't need to kill Yemo. He would be killed himself first. After refining the second mouthful of wine, Dufeng monk stared at Yemo's divine damnation dazedly for a long while before murmuring, "This is divine damnation? So that's it, I understand." Looking at Wuyin Immortal Emperor, who might be devoured at any time, Dufeng finally realized why Yemo said he was going to have divine damnation. Even divine emperors would have to watch on the side for this divine damnation. Just who was this youth? He didn't know if immortal emperors had divine damnation to vindicate Tao, but he knew it wouldn't be something as terrifying as this. The 81 bolts were finally used up, but Wuyin Immortal Emperor was like a death chamber prisoner now. He was covered in wounds and his clothes were long gone. His body was covered in blood and blackness. The first wave of divine damnation finally ended. Wuyin Immortal Emperor didn't want to care about Yemo anymore. He didn't even want to see Yemo again. He just wanted to go as far as possible. It was less than half a second after the first wave ended that the second wave came. He couldn't escape at all. After being locked on by this divine damnation, he couldn't even breathe. Looking at another 81 bolts fall down, Wuyin Immortal Emperor moaned helplessly. What did he do? He found such a maniac of an opponent. If he had another chance, he would rather call Yemo grandpa than have divine damnation with him. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Another 81 bolts fell. Yemo knew it was the same number of bolts as before, but Yemo knew this wave had more power. When the second wave fell, Yemo didn't want to passively defend anymore. He flew up and raised his 2 hands. He smashed out lightning spears. 5 lightning spear destruction. He could smash more than just 5 now, he could smash out 50 or even 500. But the more he used, the weaker they were. As the lightning spears smashed out, those thick lightning bolts were smashed apart into lightning light. Those lightning light not only refined Yemo's 5 lightning spear destruction god art, but also landed on Yemo's body. Yemo devoured this, and together with the immortal spirit chi he devoured, it smashed towards that immortal emperor barrier again. The second wave of 81 bolts passed. Yemo's immortal essence had stacked up to a terrifying amount, but his immortal emperor barrier would only shake and not open. Yemo began to worry. In his past divine damnations, it never took him more than 2 waves of divine damnation to reach the next cultivation level. This time, 2 waves of divine damnation passed and his immortal emperor was still there. This was something never seen before. Luckily, his immortal monarch foundation was big and his body refinement was high. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to resist these huge lightning bolts. Yemo didn't have the mood to worry about Wuin Immortal Emperor anymore. The third wave had come and it was 81 bolts again, but even more fierce. The thick lightning bolts were smashed away by Yemo. Rings of black lightning splashed apart, illuminating this murderous place. All the body refinement cultivators of the river were drawn over. For the first time, Dunyang left her wine. Everyone came to Yemo's place to watch this shocking divine damnation. The endless thick lightning bolts and the black lightning shivered every immortal's heart. They were all thinking, how could there be such terrifying divine damnation in this world? Dunyang was murmuring something. No one heard what she said. She had experienced divine damnation before, but her divine damnation was nothing compared to Yemo's divine damnation. It was less than 5% of Yemo's divine damnation. Now she realized why Yemo wasn't even an immortal emperor but could suppress immortal emperor. Now that he reached immortal emperor, no one in this immortal realm would be able to stop him. Other than a few divine emperors who would be a match for Yemo. As for Wuin Immortal Emperor, who was struggling to survive between the bolts, he was long ignored. Everyone watched to see when Yemo could reach Immortal Emperor. Even those who didn't know Yemo wanted him to survive this divine damnation and reach Immortal Emperor. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The fourth wave of 81 bolts fell, and the heaven-covering thick lightning bolts completely covered this space. Yemo had to face this divine damnation carefully, or he would be disintegrated. The tattered Wuin Immortal Emperor looked dazedly at Du Feng as though pleading for help. He really wanted to ask Du Feng monk to help. He really couldn't keep up with Yemo's divine damnation. The first 3 waves completely crippled his golden dragon painting. If his tree root wasn't so powerful and he was Immortal Emperor peak stage power, he would have died in the 3rd wave. Everyone's attention was on Yemo. Even if Du Feng monk saw him, he wouldn't dare to charge into Yemo's divine damnation to save someone. Crack. No matter how powerful the immortal subjugation tree root was, it couldn't resist this terrifying divine damnation. Cracks appeared. Plus, Wuin Immortal Emperor could only passively defend against the divine damnation, while Yemo devoured the divine damnation to increase his power. Before the 4th wave finished, Wuin Immortal Emperor was completely smashed by a thick lightning bolt on his body. Wuin Immortal Emperor couldn't hold on anymore. He couldn't even control his tree root anymore. Lightning bolts kept falling. Rumble, rumble, rumble. For thick bolts hit him again. Even though he took out all the defense magic artifacts in his storage ring, it was useless. There was a hideous scream. Wuin Immortal Emperor's body was broken, and as soon as his essence spirit came out, it was disintegrated by the falling divine damnation. At the same time, Yemo felt his body refinement about to break through. His cultivation level didn't break through, but his body refinement reached Immortal God Body tertiary stage. The powerful body made Yemo breath easy. Once Wuin Immortal Emperor was killed, almost all the lightning arcs focused on him. Yemo was even feeling grateful to that Wuin Immortal Emperor now. If he didn't share a part of the divine damnation, he would be more heavily injured. When Yemo reached Immortal God Body tertiary stage, the 5th wave fell without hesitation. If the 9th wave fell and Yemo didn't break through, He would be the only person to have a divine damnation and not break through. The nearby immortals saw with their own eyes Wuyin Immortal Emperor getting killed by the divine damnation. They were very shocked. Not many people knew Yimo, but there weren't many who didn't know Wuyin Immortal Emperor. Wuyin Immortal Emperor was on the level of Wei Feng Grand Emperor, and yet he couldn't survive. This made Du Feng realize that if he went he would be killed too. This was why Yimo could drink a whole bottle of the wine, but he could only drink 2 mouthfuls. Yimo devoured all the lightning source and charged at the Immortal Emperor barrier. However, the 5th wave was about to be over, but his Immortal Emperor barrier was still just shaking. Yimo became more worried. Ever since he reached Immortal God Body middle stage, the divine damnation couldn't kill him, but if he couldn't reach Immortal Emperor, all was useless. If he didn't reach Immortal Emperor, he wouldn't be able to talk to Feng Kong Grand Emperor. Seeing that the 6th wave was about to fall, Yimo saw Dunyang appear. He immediately called, "Dunyang, lend me a kettle of black wine." Dunyang was very shocked at Yimo's divine damnation, and hearing his call, she charged at Yimo with a kettle of black wine without hesitation. "Dunyang, do you not want to live?" An Immortal Emperor, as the Dunyang Hotel called. Dunyang hesitated but still didn't stop and said at the same time, "I like his song." Dunyang charged into Yimo's divine damnation and gave the black kettle to Yimo. She only had one last kettle of this black wine. If it was destroyed by the divine damnation, she wouldn't be able to give Yimo another one. Rumble. The 6th wave of 81 bolts fell. The bolts were thicker than buckets. Dunyang knew that she was locked on by the divine damnation now and couldn't escape. Her pale face became even more pale. Yimo took the wine kettle and smiled. "Thank you, Dunyang. You and Little Mud are my friends. Go out first. I will visit your business frequently." Dunyang just wanted to say she was locked on by the divine damnation when she felt her body relax. Yimo flew up and smashed out hundreds of 5 lightning spear destruction. He also smashed out Zisu. Dunyang immediately knew that she was different to Wuyin Immortal Emperor. The divine damnation that locked onto her was blocked by Yimo. She didn't need to worry at all. She knew now wasn't the time to talk. She saluted with her fists to Yimo and quickly left. Everyone saw Dunyang leave safely and saw Yimo fly up to fight the divine damnation and was even more shocked. Yimo was pretty much battling the divine damnation, and from the looks of it, Yimo had the upper hand. Wuyin Immortal Emperor was killed by the divine damnation probably because Yimo didn't want to save him. "Dunyang, what is it like inside?" Some people who knew Dunyang asked. Dunyang breathed easy. "If immortal friend ye didn't help, I would be ashes right now. I can't even block one wave of the divine damnation." Rumble. Yimo's lightning spears smashed with the 81 bolts again. Zisu purple shadows ravaged the sky and endless lightning was smashed away. At this moment, lightning light completely covered the murderous chi here. When the 6th wave was about to end, Yimo raised the black kettle and drank all of the contents. Even those who haven't had the Dunyang black wine could imagine how terrifying it was. As for those few who drank it, they were even more shocked. Yimo just drank the entire kettle like that. Even divine emperors wouldn't be able to handle it. The extremely violent killing intent ravaged Yimo's body as though about to tear him to pieces the next moment. Yimo's body that wasn't torn by the divine damnation was slowly showing blood gashes under this terrifying black Dunyang wine. Blood trickled down eerily. It was as though his body would be ripped apart by this terrifying killing intent the next moment. The uncontrollable killing intent and lightning spilled apart. Even those immortals standing far couldn't help retreating. The killing intent in this killing chi was too scary. Rumble. Explosions roared in the sky and bluish-black lightning fell, tearing the entire space. Everyone knew this was Yimo's 7th wave of divine damnation coming down. At this moment, Yimo's body was torn red by the killing chi in the wine. His face became more and more pale. When the 7th wave of divine damnation came, Yimo took out another Tai Wei Emperor return pill and ate it. To Yimo, if he couldn't reach Immortal Emperor, who knows when he would be able to break through. He had to reach Immortal Emperor as quickly as possible. Only then would he have the power to stand firm in the immortal realm. Only then would MOU Immortal Sect be able to stand firm. Crackle. The terrifying lightning struck Yi Mo's body. Yi Mo used all the pills of the power along with the lightning source as well as the black wine lethal force to charge at the Immortal Emperor barrier. The satisfying killing intent turned into invisible blades. These blades were mixed with the lightning source and smashed on the Immortal Emperor barrier again. Before this wave of charge finished, the killing intent came again. Crack. An extremely comfortable feeling welled throughout Yi Mo's body. At this moment, Yi Mo felt the entire world open up to him. It was as though the immortal realm was no longer the same immortal realm and space wasn't the same space. Everything became meticulous and Tao waves were extremely clear to him. Powerful immortal essence power and the boundless sea of consciousness filled Yi Mo's body. Yi Mo couldn't help but moan in comfort. It was as though he could easily pick up the nearby immortal spirit chi around him. He could use the power of the world at any time. When he tried to sense that Immortal Emperor barrier, it was long gone. Yi Mo's eyes finally lit up and let out a long howl. Everyone knew now that although Yi Mo's divine damnation hasn't finished yet, he was an immortal emperor. Yi Mo grabbed casually and the nearby space seemed completely bound by his hand. So this is immortal emperor state. Yi Mo murmured to himself. If someone had his immortal emperor power, then no matter how powerful his immortal monarch peak stage he would be completely outmatched. Three-birth chant was indeed the chaos cultivation method of the world. This extreme power wasn't something ordinary immortal emperors could compare with. Yi Mo let out a long howl. He hadn't seen Feng Kong Grand Emperor before, but he knew Feng Kong Grand Emperor was stronger than Wei Feng Grand Emperor. However, Yi Mo no longer had fear in his heart. This was his confidence because he was different to other immortal emperors. The tens or even hundreds of times more resources he used compared to others didn't go to waste. Yi Mo just reached Immortal Emperor and his Immortal Emperor force was seeping out. It made people step back again. Even immortal emperors took in a cold breath. Yi Mo's power wasn't something same-level immortal emperors could compare with at all. His Immortal Emperor force meant that he was tens of times stronger than before. Who could stop him in the immortal realm? Only the 4 Grand Emperor or even Divine Emperor can. The 8th and 9th Divine Damnation came at the same time, but these were nothing to Yi Mo now. He didn't even use God Art and just grabbed with his hand. These lightning bolts were either devoured or turned to nothing. The rumbling seemed to have instantly disappeared from the sky, but people didn't see immortal spirit chi cloud falling. Yi Mo knew his divine damnation rarely had that, and now that he reached Immortal Emperor, he didn't care about it at all. When the divine damnation disappeared, he set up a stealth restriction and quickly cleansed himself and changed into new blue robes. When Yi Mo put away the restriction and put away the unfinished extreme grade immortal range, everyone woke up. Yi Mo's terrifying divine damnation was over. Regardless if the immortals knew Yi Mo, they all came to congratulate Yi Mo. Everyone who witnessed Yi Mo's divine damnation knew that someone who could have such divine damnation would have no opponents in the future. The immortal realm will be his. Seeing Yi Mo clean and easy, the people who came to congratulate him were more shocked. Other people would be covered in injuries after divine damnation and spend a lot of time to consolidate their power. But Yi Mo seemed like he didn't go through anything at all. His newly ascended chi was very stable too. His powerful Immortal Emperor chi only spilled the moment he reached Immortal Emperor and shocked people. After the divine damnation, they couldn't sense it at all. Yi Mo thanked them all. These people witnessed him reaching Immortal Emperor. This was some fate. Cultivating till now, this Immortal Emperor breakthrough was the hardest. Luckily Dunyang helped him. Without that murderous intent in the wine, it would be really hard to break his Immortal Emperor barrier. After everyone finished congratulating, Dunyang came up to congratulate. Immortal friend Yi, congratulations. You've become an unparalleled Immortal Emperor. The heavens are yours to roam now, Dunyang exclaimed. Yi Mo quickly saluted with his fists. Thank you Dunyang for lending me a kettle of wine. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be able to break through to Immortal Emperor. Then, Yi Mo took out 100 black wine killstones to Dunyang. He didn't think small ginseng would be able to produce such wine, so he might as well give it all to Dunyang. Dunyang quickly waved her hand. Brother Yi, the wine can be my congratulation gift. You don't need to give me wine kill stone. Emo smiled. Dunyang. I know that although I got the wine recipe from Little Mud Xianbei, I definitely wouldn't be able to produce such wine. You can have these wine kill stones. I'll come to your place to drink again. Dunyang smiled. In that case, I won't be too polite. Seeing Dunyang take the wine kill stones, Emo took out 2 more jade boxes and gave it to her. Dunyang. This is my little gift. Please take it. Dunyang didn't need to open it to know what was inside. Emo gave her this jade box before. It was the one containing the Emperor Wood Blue fruit. This fruit was something even Chu Chun Divine Emperor needed desperately. She didn't expect Emo to give 2 in one go. Clearly, Emo meant to give her and Chu Chun Divine Emperor 1 each. This fruit was too precious. Even though she wanted it immediately, she didn't dare to take it. She quickly rejected, Brother Yi, this is too precious. I can't accept it. Emo laughed. Dunyang, you and Little Mud Xianbei are people I respected. Without this wine, I can't reach Immortal Emperor. You don't know, but I know. Emo truly understood why he couldn't reach Immortal Emperor. He cultivated under the bitter bamboo and had no bottleneck. He lacked this inexpressible learning. Cultivation was like living life. There isn't perfection. How could one see the rainbow without going through the storm? His cultivation level loosened when Sha Yu Immortal Emperor's flag drew out his heart demon. This time he was hurt by Nye Shuangshuang and drank the wine in the hotel. His mind state grew again. Okay, in that case I won't be too polite. My hotel welcomes Brother Yi at any time. Dunyang's best wine will forever be kept for you. Dunyang took the 2 jade boxes and said shakily, This is the Dunyang I imagined. Emo laughed. Dunyang. I'm a level 9 Immortal Pill Grandmaster and the sect leader of MOU Immortal Sect. When Dunyang doesn't want to keep this shop, my MOU Immortal Sect welcomes you and Little Mud Xianbei at any time. Brother Yi, you're a level 9 Immortal Pill Grandmaster too? Dunyang repeated in shocked. Everyone else also looked at Emo with extreme shock. Level 9 Immortal Pill Grandmaster wasn't that easy to see, and now there was one standing in front of him who was also an insanely powerful Immortal Emperor. That's right, I'm a level 9 Immortal Pill Grandmaster. If everyone wants pill concoction, you can come to my MOU Immortal Sect. Emo said. MOU Immortal Sect needed fame now, not just fame in the low heaven domains but in the entire immortal realm. Hearing this, people rejoiced and came up to thank again. Dufeng Monk also came over. He grabbed the huge beads on his neck and said, I remember, you're the person who broke the Jia Kuei secret realm restriction, right? Amazing, too amazing. Big Monk is from Nan Ming Heaven Zen Temple Dufeng. You're very generous. You lent a bottle of Dunyang black wine to Big Monk. You're a good friend. Emo quickly saluted with his fists. Brother Dufeng, you saved my friends at the Ice Carrot Immortal City. I should be thanking you. A mere bottle of wine is nothing. Okay, immortal crystals like people like you. Monk is going to check out Qingwei Abyssal River. Do you want to come? Dufeng was straightforward. Emo immediately said, I just came from Qingwei Abyssal River. I'm going to pick up my sister. I probably can't come over. Then, Emo said to everyone, my MOU Immortal Sect will be holding our sect opening ceremony in a decade. I welcome everyone to come. Thank you all for watching out for me today. We'll bid farewell now. Emo was worried about Tang Beiwei and them, so he released his space-time boat and instantly disappeared from here. Brother Emo is a good friend. Dufeng looked at Emo's disappearing figure and raised his thumb. Yes, he's a worthy friend. Dunyang exclaimed. Hearing Emo was a sect leader and going to hold his sect opening ceremony, some body refinement immortals were planning to go. The benefits of connecting with a level 9 Immortal Pill Grandmaster was inestimable. Emo used half a day to come to Qingwei Abyssal River from the city, but now he used less than a third of the time. Before Emo went in the city, he saw Tang Beiwei, Ning Yu and Eugene Xiang negotiating with someone in the Immortal Rest Tower Hall. Eugene Xiang had reached Immortal King middle stage after a year. But the person talking to her was an Immortal Monarch middle stage. Eugene Xiang was much stronger than ordinary Immortal King, but she wouldn't be able to challenge an Immortal Monarch. Martial Sister YY. What's going on? Emo asked. Tang Beiwei saw Yemo come over and immediately came up grabbing his hand. Brother, you're finally back. They thought Yemo would at most go for a few months, but it had now been a year. A lot of things happened during this time. If it wasn't for Xianxia's experience and they were very careful, things might have happened already. Martial brother, you're back? Xiang said. Martial brother. Ning Yu also came up to Yemo. Yemo scanned at the person who was speaking to Xianxia and frowned. Martial sister Yu? Who is he? What is he doing here? I believe you're you immortal sect leader Yemo, right? I'm the Mager of Feng Kong Grand Emperor Estate Na Ming. I came to invite sect leader Yi. When I heard sect leader Yi wasn't here, I wanted to invite a few of your sect members over. This immortal monarch casually saluted with his fists. Bullshit, we said we don't want to go, but you said if we don't go then you'll take us by force. Tang Beiwei was angry. She couldn't keep calm like Xiang and Ning Yu. Na Ming immortal monarch didn't rebuke and saluted with his fists again. That's right. This is the will of Feng Kong Grand Emperor. I'm just a manager and acting out my order. Yemo's face sunk. Go tell Feng Kong. Yemo will definitely come visit. No, I must go with you? Before Na Ming immortal monarch finished, he felt the nearby space squeeze, and the next moment, he saw a foot kick his face. Yemo's voice sounded piss off. Tell Feng Kong I will sort things out with him. Yemo's kick wasn't heavy. Na Ming immortal monarch was kicked out of the immortal rest tower and subconsciously covered his face. He pointed his finger at Yemo in fury. Since when did people dare to treat someone from Feng Kong Grand Emperor Estate like this? Yemo suddenly stared at him coldly and said, If you dare to say one more word, I will cut your head off. Of course, Na Ming immortal monarch had heard of how crazy Yemo was. He didn't even fear Wei Feng Grand Emperor. Although he was more furious hearing these words, he knew that Yemo didn't lie. There was probably no one in this world that Yemo feared. Na Ming immortal monarch didn't dare to say a word and just turned to leave. He trusted the Grand Emperor will bring him justice. The immortals saw Yemo dare to even kick away Feng Kong Grand Emperor's person. They didn't dare to talk more. Brother? Tang Beiwei wanted to say something but was stopped by Yemo. Let's go in the room first. Yemo guessed that something probably happened to them while he left. As they spoke, Yemo realized that in the first half after he left, they were fine here. No one dared to look for their trouble. But half a year ago, an extremely big auction at the city exposed their tracks. This auction was big and the city was running out of spaces. Xiang and them had a big block. The rooms were big and immortal spirit chi were ample. Many sects and merchant associations who couldn't find a place to stay set their eyes on their block. Many sects forced the manager to persuade them to go and give them compensation. However, Xiang was once an immortal emperor peak stage. How could she be persuaded away? However, things didn't end there. The day before the sect, Qingwei Heaven Wuya Monarch sect suddenly had someone come to this room and force them to move out. Their sect had a very important guest, and this guest was coming to the auction here. They wanted to find the best room for them. Their dominance didn't force Xiang away. They were willing to pay double the price, but Xiang didn't care about that little immortal crystals. She rejected without hesitation. That Wuya Monarch sect was furious and attacked Xiang. That elder was immortal monarch tertiary stage, but Xiang was only immortal king tertiary stage. Clearly Xiang was no match and got injured. Just when that immortal monarch was going to keep attacking Xiang, Tang Beiwei suddenly said that they were from MOU immortal sect. If he dared to keep attacking, her brother wasn't going to let them go. Hearing this, the immortal monarch immediately stopped attacking and didn't dare to keep asking for the room. The next day, the sect leader personally came to apologize. Xiang didn't see them. After that, Tang Beiwei and them felt that they were watched. Indeed, a while later, Wuyin immortal emperor came. He wanted to take them away but was stopped by a passerby monk. Brother, where do we go now? Tang Beiwei said. Since Feng Kong sent someone to bring us over, of course we need to go. Let's see what his dog home looks like. Yemo laughed. Yemo had to go find Feng Kong, whether it was because of what his threats to them or the woman whom he kicked off the stairs. Martial brother? You're going to see Feng Kong Grand Emperor? Xianxia asked in shock. She had to be shocked. She knew Yimo's power from Tang Beiwei and knew that Yimo was much weaker than Wei Feng Grand Emperor. Wei Feng Grand Emperor was a far cry from Feng Kong Grand Emperor. Yimo was definitely no match for Feng Kong Grand Emperor. Yes, I have to go see him. Plus, even if I don't go, would he let me go? Yimo knew that since Feng Kong Grand Emperor knew he had Shadowless, then he knew that he was the person who came out from the small heaven domain. Xianxia knew that Yimo was right. Even if he didn't go for Xianxia, just with how Yimo kicked the manager away, Feng Kong Grand Emperor wasn't going to let them go. As soon as they were planning to leave, someone came to their place. It was two Immortal Monarch tertiary stage. Brother, this is Wuxia Monarch sect leader. The one standing behind him is the elder asking us to give out the room. Tang Beiwei said. Wuxia sect Xian Huamao greet sect leader Yi. My sect elder offended you Immortal sect and now we came to apologize. Sect leader Yi can punish however you like. One middle-aged Immortal Monarch saw Yimo come out and quickly bowed respectfully. Yimo looked at the presents in his hands and knew that he was waiting for him here. Clearly, what he did at the secret realm had spread all over the entire Grand Heaven domain. Wanbei Wuxia Monarch sect elder Kuang Feiji. I offended your sect members a few months ago. I'm very distressed. Please punish me, sect leader Yi. That cocky Immortal Monarch's tone was even shaking. They waited at the city a few months just to apologize to Yimo. Of course they knew about Wuyin Immortal Emperor hunting Yimo. If Yimo didn't come back and Wuyin Immortal Emperor came back, they wouldn't need to apologize, and if they knew Yimo was killed, they would even keep teaching Tang Beiwei and them a lesson. But now, Yimo was back but Wuyin Immortal Emperor wasn't back. Yimo sneered in contempt. He knew how shameless these people were and only acted like this because he was stronger. If something happened to him, Beiwei and them would never get away, but there were people like this everywhere. Yimo didn't have the mood to care. You're a mere Immortal Monarch sect and you dare to be this cocky. One day, your sect will be annihilated due to your cockiness. Yimo then took Beiwei and them and left. The two Immortal Monarchs clearly didn't dare to chase up. After they had left, the sect leader wiped the sweat from his head and said to the other Immortal Monarch, if sect leader Yi wants to annihilate our sect, it would be as simple as crushing an insect. He's right, we're a mere monarch sect. If we keep going like this, our sect would be annihilated. Sect leader, young Master Long, said last time that he would help us with this. The other Immortal Monarch elder carefully explained. Xian Huamao sighed. He couldn't even be bothered explaining. How could you take those words seriously? Even if young Master Long went to find MOU Immortal sect, they would still have to apologize to Yimo. That level of battle wasn't something they had the right to be in. Yimo didn't even give face to Feng Kong Grand Emperor. The biggest in Qingwei Heaven was Hongyu Immortal City. There were few Immortal City that could match with Hongyu Immortal City in the entire Grand Heaven domain. This was because the Qingwei Heaven Lord estate was here. Feng Kong Grand Emperor's estate was here too. Feng Kong Grand Emperor's estate was grand and monumental. Even the top emperor sects couldn't match this. Yimo and them gasped in front of this estate. Yimo just glanced once and knew this estate was not just an estate but a top-level magic artifact. It was even beyond extreme-grade immortal artifact. These cultivation home artifacts were rare. Yimo made some too, but they were just simple houses and mansions. These boundless cultivation home artifacts were far better than ordinary small worlds. Yimo had to be careful of this. Is sect leader Yi here? While Yimo studied this Grand Emperor estate, someone came to greet. It was an Immortal Monarch tertiary stage. Yimo nodded. That's right. I'm Yimo. Welcome, sect leader Yi. The Grand Emperor has been waiting for you. Please come in. The Immortal Monarch was much more polite than the one who went to Ice Carrot Immortal City. Haha. I didn't plan on seeing Feng Kong today. I just came to know the way. I'll come visit tomorrow, Yimo said and then turned to leave. The three girls followed him. Brother, why don't we go in? Tang Beiwei asked. Yimo said, we have no face going in like this. We'll go find an immortal rest tower and let him come to us. I'm a sect leader and when I came to his estate he doesn't even come to greet me personally. He's looking down on me. In the Feng Kong Grand Emperor State Palace, an authoritative-looking man sat in an ancient emperor chair in the clouds. There were tens of beautiful female immortal on the side of the palace. They all stood on rainbow clouds barefoot. There was a black-faced man on the left side of the palace. He was Immortal Emperor Tertiary Stage Power. The immortal monarch whom Yemo just saw stood in the middle of the palace. Feng Kong Grand Emperor was furious that Yemo, being a mere low-heaven domain sect leader, dares to act like this. You said that he didn't come in at the entrance because he thought I didn't go greet him personally? Feng Kong Grand Emperor's tone was calm, but his eyes were fierce. Yes, Feng Emperor Master. I heard it with my own ears. The black-faced immortal emperor bowed. Feng Kong Grand Emperor sneered. Go invite him tomorrow. If he doesn't come tomorrow, I will go greet him personally. I'll see if he can handle it. Secret, it would only be a secret if you can keep it. A mere immortal emperor dares to be this cocky. Grand Emperor. Even Wei Feng Grand Emperor suspected Yemo didn't reach Immortal Emperor, but now he suddenly shows Immortal Emperor primary stage power. This is really strange. The black-faced Immortal Emperor said carefully. Feng Kong Grand Emperor thought for a long while before saying, I'll know tomorrow. No matter how long he had ascended into the immortal realm for, he was only Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary Stage when he entered the small heaven domain. There's quite some strange things on him for him to reach Immortal Emperor this quickly. Perhaps the one who entered the small heaven domain wasn't him? The black-faced Immortal Emperor added. Feng Kong Grand Emperor nodded regardless. I'll know tomorrow. There were plenty of immortal rest towers at Qingwei Heaven. Yemo and them soon found a place to stay. After going in, Yemo set up a powerful barrier formation and told the three to not leave at all. Yemo came to look for trouble with Feng Kong Grand Emperor. How could he not go in because Feng Kong Grand Emperor didn't come to greet him? The main reason was because he was scared to go in. If he went into Feng Kong Grand Emperor's Cultivation home artifact without any preparation, it would be suicide.